Combos collide. Authentic, unapologetic, no edits, no cap. Let the convo begin. No cap.
Welcome to the No Cap Sports Show podcast where sports and convos collide. I am your host, the Cobra.
Hey, yo, I'm your coach. I'm your host, Coach Milton.
What up, Coach? How you doing today, bro?
Hey, man, the weather says it all, man. The weather says it all. You looking like O-Dog out there today. You chilling, chilling
Yeah,
outside.
yeah. I actually got kicked out the house. The cleaning crew is here today, so so they kicked me out the house. So I took it outside. But like you said, it's a beautiful day, so I don't mind.
Hey, that's called perfect timing, brother. Perfect timing.
Absolutely. But shoot, man, look. You know why we here today, man? We got a special guest, man. Somebody coming on today, man. That I respect and admire. He was a great athlete. He's currently a hell of a coach, man, and he's even a better person. So he's a former DMV hoop star at the legendary DeMatha High School, and he was coached by Hall of Fame coach Morgan Wooten before taking his talent to the University of Delaware, where he was the first player in school history to earn 3 first-team All-Conference, as well as his first Conference Player of the Year. Our guest was also enshrined in the University of Delaware Hall of Fame. He went on to have a successful professional career overseas and in the CBA, and our guest now boasts an impressive coaching resume where he coached at some elite high schools and at the college level, where he coached at schools such as Delaware, Xavier, Louisville, and currently he's at Butler University. So without further ado, please welcome to the show my guy, Mike Pegues.
Appreciate it, fellas. I appreciate the intro, Kobe. You did your homework on that one, man. You dug deep into the Wikipedia page for that one, man. But I appreciate the love, man, and right back at you. Coming up in the late '80s and early '90s, mid '90s, man, hooping. Everybody knew if you went across the bridge and played over in Virginia, man, we had to deal with you at some point, So
Appreciate that.
Give you your flowers as well, man. You were a hell of a player, standout player, and did big things at Dayton. And we were similar, man. We both were like those tweener guys, which is like in vogue now in the NBA. We could have made some money in this day and age, man. People ain't appreciate our skill set at 6'6" back in the day, but. Nah, you were a hell of a player too, man. And I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you, bro. And I know Coach Milton appreciates you as well.
Indeed, I do. Indeed, I do. I did a little research, man. You got some good stuff going on, man. I'm liking what I'm seeing and just kind of looking through your stuff, man. The one thing I love about you, man, is you have that player development mentality approach to things, man, and I love that. That's right up my alley. So.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So let's get right into it, because all our viewers and listeners, they're eager to learn about your background. And at the No Cap Sports Show podcast, we like to start from the beginning. As I mentioned in the introduction, you was a hell of an athlete. You was a standout basketball player, superstar basketball player out of the DMV. But when did it start? Like, when did your athletics career start as a child? And was basketball your first love? And who was it that inspired you to get into athletics and or basketball?
That's an easy question. Easy answer for me, Cole. Honestly, man, I was blessed really out of the womb to be born as Sharon Marshall. I got to give her all the credit. My mother, she was a standout Division II player at back then. UDC used to be called Federal City. And she played for a legend, Wanda Oaks, I believe her name was, and Miss Bessie Stalker throughout her career. And she was a hell of a ball player in her own right. And she actually worked in D.C. Department of Recreation and Parks. And so for a kid who came out of the womb loving basketball with a ball boy in his hand. It couldn't have been more set up for me to naturally gravitate to playing ball. So I spent I cut my teeth, as they say, on the playgrounds of Washington D.C. In particular, it's now called Patricia Harris, but it used to be called Friendship on Livingston Road in Southeast DC. My mom worked there for a long stretch. So I took a lot of lumps on that playground, literally and figuratively. Learning the game from older guys, getting into runs with the older guys, trying to, put a stranglehold on the kids my age and elevate and get better. And I also spent a lot of time up at High Junior High. They had a summer camp that I'm not sure if you're aware of, Cole, but back then, man, it was like the camp that you had to be at. It was free. All of the best players, all Met players would be your counselors. We would get celebrities, coaches, and people to come in and speak. I can literally remember being at that camp and Lynn Byers coming in. Every Friday it was like a guest speaker, and you never know who it was. The counselors would never tell you. But Lynn Byers popped up and spoke to us. Uh,
Wow.
John Thompson, Kirk Smith used to work the camp. My man DeBella Black used to work the camp. But a lot of great ball players from the city, man, at one point would make their way through high and junior high because that's where the youth games, before AAU got involved, youth games was a big deal. It was like Junior Olympics. And, all of the best players would play on the DC team, and you would go out and you would play against Jersey and New York and Philly and whatnot. And so that's what real hoop was up at Hine, man. So my summers at Hine, my winners at Friendship, and I got to give my dad some credit as well. He played football at McNamara, but actually wound up getting a scholarship to Pitt Johnstown to play basketball. So he was a good ball player as well. Had some great moments with him. Sunday mornings in particular, where I would go out and play with his buddies. We would hoop every Sunday. I wasn't sure when I would see Dad early on in my life, but I was guaranteed to see him on Sunday mornings, and we would hoop together, man. And I remember his buddies telling me, man, you can't play with us until you get a mustache. You got to get some peach fuzz or something, because they used to be out there hacking. You shot jump shots if you knew what was best for you, because if you went to the hole, you was gonna feel it. So always, I always prided myself, man, on playing with older guys and taking my lumps and learning from the ground up. And the playground is definitely where I started, man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, so nah, that's awesome, man. Because when you mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned your dad, man, and I didn't know that he played football.
Mhm.
So, what was that like to be able to get out on the court and play with your pops, man? Like you said, I know it's a physical game. That's the way. That's the way we, as we do now. We keep the young fellas from using all their athleticism against
Right.
us. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now, having two younger sons. Two having sons myself. So
Yeah.
what was it like to be able to get out there and hoop with your pops, man?
It was awesome. It was incredible. I look back on it now. He'll turn 64, I believe, this September. So he's a long way from getting on the court. And
Hmm.
you learn to cherish those moments. The slower you see your pops move, it makes you think back to what was, and it was so fun, man. Sunday mornings, like I said, is when they decided that they would hoop. We used to go over to Eli Place over in Southeast and play outside on the concrete. It used to be 100 degrees out there. I remember being young once, and they were always prepared, right? Him and his crew. And one day I knocked over the cooler, ice water. I knocked it over, man. Them dudes looked at me. I thought they was gonna kill me out there. You know what I mean? But I just had a ball play. My dad could play. He was a really good player. Even though he played football at McNamara, he played safety. He was a good basketball player. He had a good career at Pitt Johnstown, and they would always like pick him first. Like whoever
Hmm.
was, you would shoot back then. You would shoot for,
Yeah.
who got to pick the teams, and so whoever would make that shot, like, all right, Big Mike, I got you. And I'm like his son over there, and I'm like last. You know what I mean? And so my dad would have to go to his guys and be like, man, pick my son up, pick my son up. You know what I mean? So he would always look out for me, try to get me on his team and try to coach me through, everything. And more often than not, like one of the smaller guys would check me because they knew I wasn't ready yet. And so I
Mm,
remember as I got to about 11 or 12, my dad was like, man, take him down low, man. You can post him up. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so he was constantly coaching me on the floor. Just integrating me into the trenches. You know what I mean? Trying to school me on what it's like to elevate your game despite, your age and find a way. Everybody out here is older than you, stronger than you. They knock you down, you get your ass up every time. Don't
Yeah.
hesitate. And if you keep doing that, eventually things will start to go your way. So it was great to be able to play with Pops, man. And honestly, the best moments were probably after we got done playing. Those guys would go up to the store, old school, right? Go buy some bread, white bread, get some bologna and cheese, go get a bunch of juices, a bunch of beers. Next day, somebody was rolling something and they was just out there eating, drinking, joning on each other. And the laughs, man, after we got finished hooping was probably the best experience, one of the best experiences I had growing up.
That's
That's
dope. That's dope.
yeah, that's awesome. So Mike, when did it come to the point where not only you knew it yourself, but other people in the city in the area start to realize that you was a hell of a basketball player, in terms of like entering into your to the ninth grade was there like a bidding war of you? Because I know a lot of guys, once they are tagged as that next one up, so to speak. You got high schools, trying to bid for you, trying to get you to come there. And we know you ended up going to DeMatha, but how did that come into fruition?
Well, it's funny because I went to public school from pre-K all the way up to eighth grade, and I went to what used to be Roger B. Tawney Middle School, which is now thankfully Thurgood Marshall Junior High, because I never remember seeing one white kid at Tawney back in the day. So I'm grateful that they changed the name. They changed the name shortly after I left, and at the time, man, I was just playing rec ball, like I said, over my mom's rec. I was playing, it used to be called the Tasty Cake Junior Bullets. So I was in Ward 8, so we would play against other recreation centers. But then my mom had a friend in the Temple Hills area, so I would use their address to play with Camp Springs Boys and Girls Club. And I played against some really good guys. I got to know a lot of PG County guys playing with Camp Springs, and I always played up. Um, and then I came down to my last year and I played my age, and that's when I realized, okay, I'm better than a lot of the guys my age. I'm playing in the city. I'm going to Hine, playing against the best kids in the city at the junior high, at summer camp. And I'm looking to my left and my right and feeling like, okay, I'm a pretty good player. But at the time, like I said, I went to Tawny Middle School, so all my friends were either going to Crossland, because Roger B. Tawny's right there off Brinkley Road. All my buddies were either going to Crossland or they were going to Forestville. So I wanted to go to Crossland or Forestville with my guys. And little did I know, mom and dad had different plans, man. They was like, it ain't no way you going to Crossland or Forestville. And they had already had it mapped out for me to go to DeMatha. And but the thing is, I hadn't heard from DeMatha, but I remember I played in the Libby tournament, which was the big tournament at Crossland High School. All of the local boys and girls clubs were playing it, and I played well in that tournament. And a coach who actually wound up being my freshman coach at DeMatha, he came looking for me after the game and started talking to my mom and dad about DeMatha. And even though mom and dad, man, didn't have it, they found a way to send me there because back then, you didn't really get a full ride to DeMatha. That's, I don't know how many guys you've spoken to about that, but man, they lying that they said they got a full ride. Like, you paid something. You Morgan and them wasn't going to just bring you on in there, with no bill, man. You gonna have to pay something. So I remember being at DeMatha, taking out the trash during my free period, dropping off attendance notes. They kept you doing something. And so my mom and dad, man, credit to them. My mom worked like 3 jobs at a time. At times, she would officiate part time. She worked at Hearst part time, and then she worked at the rec. And my dad was a probation officer, and he would work at Athlete's Foot part time.
Mm.
Uh, so shout out to him for the 20% discount on the kicks, covered up. But yeah, man, they worked their tail off, man. They told me, they was like, look, the money that we had saved for you to go to college, So we got to use that to pay for you to go to the bathroom, man. So you got to figure this out. This thing got to work, you know. So they would take turns taking me to school and picking me up because that was a hump from Forestville where I grew up. It was a good 35-minute hump every day with traffic. And you know, times I'm just out there waiting on them to pick me up 6, 7 o'clock at night. You know, then I started getting on the bus, and that took forever. So it was a lot. It was a lot to went into that, man. But I was happy ultimately that I went to DeMatha. I couldn't say that back then because nobody who wants to go to an all boy high school, you know, with uniforms coming out of public school. It was a big transition. You know, I struggled academically my ninth grade year, almost failed out. Um, you know, had to figure it out, man. Had to figure out life pretty fast going up there, you know, with all of the rules and regulations. And but it was good. You know, I chose the harder right over the easier wrong, and it worked out for me.
Yeah. And when did you hit your stride at the Masters? When did you feel like, okay, this where I belong, and you started to get the feel of everything, and academics and athletically, everything was just clicking.
Yeah, nah, it was rough, Cole. I mean, you know how it was, man. Like back then, you know, you would go there and you would think, okay, they recruited me to come here. Then you realize, shit, they recruited a lot of dudes to come here, you know. And you know, as a ninth grader, at one time, if you played varsity at the Math as a ninth grader, man, you played in the league. Like that's how elite that place was back in the day. You know, I think Dwayne Simpkins, who's a close friend of mine, the head coach at American University, was one of the few guys who made varsity as a ninth grader that didn't actually play in the league, but we know how good of a player he ended up being at the University of Maryland.
Yep.
Uh, so my ninth grade year, you know, I didn't even try out for varsity because Morgan kind of stipulated like what he wanted, right, from all three levels, from freshman, JV, and varsity. So you know, I took it on the chin, played freshman ball as a ninth grader, had a really good year. And then my sophomore year, coach wanted me, I wanted to play JV because I knew I would play more. And all of my guys in my class were going to play JV. So I just kind of wanted to stay with them. And coach, he wouldn't have it. He said, no, I want you to play varsity. You need to learn from, at the time, Travis Lyons, who's a good friend of mine,
Shout
was
out to
a senior.
Trap.
Shout out to my guy Trav Big Horse. He was a senior, and even in the junior class, my guy Daryl Presley, who I wound up playing with at the University of Delaware. Shout out to my guy DP. All of those guys were above me, and so he wanted me to battle against them in practice because he knew that iron sharpens iron, and then that would ultimately, you know, better prepare me for my time on varsity. So I played varsity as a sophomore, but I didn't play. You know what I mean? And that was, honestly, that was the roughest year of my life to that point athletically. I had never sat on the bench in my entire life. And I can vividly remember, man, just being in tears, literally crying in my mom's and dad's arms after games because I did not touch the floor. You know, if it was a blowout, I got in. But other than that, man, it was all about practice. But coach had a vision for me. And I wound up my 11th grade year. I think, you know, to answer your question, Cole, we played good counsel at home one year.
Hmm.
And it was a close game. It was nip and tuck. And Greg Christelle, who was a 6'11" center who went on to play at Florida, was the starting center my junior year. He was a senior. And I don't know if he's in foul trouble or not playing well, man, but I just remember playing more that game than any other game. And I
Hmm.
made some really key buckets down the stretch. And I remember my assistant coach just like came up to me and just like showed a lot more enthusiasm than normal, even for him. And he was like, man, you can do it. You did it. You know, so I felt like, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this thing. Like, I'm not the little guy on the block anymore. Like, I can actually compete with these guys. And that moved into my senior year, which was obviously my team. And I had a pretty good senior year, not as good as I would have liked. Lost in the city title to Anacostia the year. That still hurts me to this day. But we won the WCAC, which is no easy feat, and ended up having a really good career, man. But definitely learned a lot of life lessons at DeMatha, and you know, I went through it. You know, a lot of adversity, which ultimately really set me up to have a really good career in college.
Okay. And before I pass it over to Coach, so during that time in your 4 years at the Mather, were you playing AU in the summers?
I was playing. I started out early on playing what we talked about before the show. Brian Napa, a good friend of mine, good friend of yours. We all played for this team called Oxon Hill Slammer Jam. So some of the best players in the county. We used to run it at our age group, man. Like we had to go out of town just to get a close game. You
Hmm.
know, we were elite, man. Like I mean, from 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old, and then Going into my senior year, I moved over to DC. And it's funny because I actually had lunch. How many people can say that their AAU coach is now an NBA GM, right? Troy Weaver was my AAU coach with DC Assault. And Curtis Malone, obviously, all of those guys, Damon Hamden, Big Moose, Mike Brown, all those guys were around. But I moved over, and he told me some wild stories, man. He told me some stuff that I had no idea was going on behind the scenes. If y'all got a minute, man, I'll share some of it with you.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
This your time, bro.
And I got a question for you too about AAU because I think
yeah,
you're the perfect person to answer. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell that story first, and then I'll
yeah.
ask.
So it's no secret that back then, high school basketball was holding on for dear life going back, starting at that point because AAU started to become more and more prevalent, right? AAU starting to take over a little bit, and guys like Morgan Wooten wasn't having it. He's old school. He wanted all the control. He wanted to stipulate, his when his players would be with him, and basically that was all year round as far as he was concerned. Like he wanted you to work Mason Dixon camp all summer. He wanted you to play in every single summer league game, and that couldn't be the case if you were going to play high level AAU. And so Troy told me the story that basically the AAU Nationals was the big event. We didn't have all of these sessions like these kids have today, where you have all of the visibility and opportunity to play in front of college coaches like they do now. You had, select tournaments, where you do that. And so the Nationals was one of them. And so the Nationals unfortunately fell during the time when we were playing Summer League. And Morgan Wooten basically that year, he made me captain, y'all. He made me captain of the team. Now, mind you, nobody had been captain at the Mather since James Brown, D. James Brown in 1969. He made me captain, and I'll never forget. After the game, he huddled us up and he said, "Fellas, I understand that." He always said, "Men." He said, "Men, understand that there's a big AAU tournament this weekend, but my expectation is that everybody in this huddle will be at our summer league game at our summer league games over the weekend." Basically saying, and looking at me the whole time, like, I hope Mike Pegues, you don't think that you're going to play with DC Assault this summer. But behind the scenes, what was going on, fellas, was Morgan Wooten had already decided that I should go to the University of Delaware and play for Mike Brady. He knew that if I went to the AAU Nationals and I played to my capabilities, that there were high major schools down there that I would have wanted to talk to and would have been very much so interested in hearing from. And
Right.
so Troy tells the story that they took 7 guys. They showed up at my house that night in a van. They were on their way down to Charlotte, North Carolina. And Troy was like, "Mike, what you want to do, man? I already talked to coach. I know what he wants. What do you want?" But the reverence, right? The reverence and the fear that I had of Morgan Wooten would not allow me to get in that van. And
Yeah.
so I stayed behind and I missed, who knows, right? Life twists and turns. But I would have liked to have called my own shot, went and played in the Nationals and be seen. Troy Weaver told me just this couple of days ago, he said, "Mike, it was 6 to 7 high major coaches down there coming up to me like, 'Where's Mike Pegues? We came here to see Mike.'"
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I wasn't there. I was playing summer league back home where the coaches weren't allowed to be because my coach, wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
And look, back then, a guy like Morgan Wooten, and he deserved every bit of power. I literally got a picture of him up in my office here because he meant a lot to me. And it worked out. I'll just say that. It worked out. I had a great experience at the University of Delaware. I don't have any regrets. But he was looking out for his guy. Mike Bray was a former DeMatha student, athlete, assistant coach. Morgan Wooten, nowadays, hey, you guys get their coaches on, with different colleges. Morgan was doing that for his coaches at DeMatha years ago. Mike Bray became an assistant coach at Duke in the 90s, and they sent that, what he did was Morgan said, "Well, look, Coach K, you want Danny Ferry? Okay, good. You get Danny Ferry, but you got to take Mike Bray with you." That was the type of stuff that was going on back then. And so
Mm-hmm.
it came time for me to go to college. Morgan Wooten and Mike Bray had already huddled up and said, "I need Mike McGeese if I'm gonna get this thing right up at Delaware." And unbeknownst to me, I'm just a pawn in all of this. And Troy told me that story, man. It hit home. It hit home because I was like, wow, man. I knew I was a little better than Delaware, but I didn't know it was that deep. You know what I mean? But like I said, it all worked out. and I'm glad it did because I had a great experience at Delaware and some really good memories. And just I'll wrap it up because I know I'm long winded, but I literally just came back from Rehoboth Beach this weekend from my hanging out with my teammates at Delaware.
It's
You know what I
nice.
mean? We try to do that every summer. We bring our spouses and kids, and we get together. And I feel for young kids today who jump in and out of this portal because they won't have those experiences. Like, who you gonna get with in the summer when you go to four different schools and in 4 different years? You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So I had that experience with my guys. We try to do it every year, man, and we had a ball, man. We had a great experience. So hopefully that answers the question.
yeah, that's awesome. So the question I have about AAU, this has been a debate. So I've been talking to Curtis Malone to get him on the show. We're working on scheduling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Curtis be the perfect person to answer this question because he was there during the whole time. But now that you're here, I think you're the perfect person as well. So I always had this debate. So AAU, I played with executive three, right?
Okay, big time. Lou Wilson.
That's right. And then DC Assault came and became that big time AU program from the DC area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had debates with players. I said I think Executive Three is the greatest AAU program in DC history. You got others that say DC Assault, and
Yeah,
I get DC Assault was more high profile because they had the money behind them. We had Mr. Bates' old yellow and red shirt, and you got to bring your own red shorts to
yeah,
the
yeah,
But
yeah.
in your opinion, since you played for DC Assault and you coached at DC Assault,
Mm-hmm.
what's your opinion on the two programs?
Man, I think it was like I think it was a thing where both programs were elite during their time. I really do, Kobe. Like, cause I would have as a youngin, right? Like 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, I wanted to play. I used to go up to Central. A lot of times I used to practice up Central, right?
Hmm.
Because that's where Lou was at the time. Those are the guys that I remember. And I know y'all had all the best players. I think what was the team? Y'all were it. It was in Allentown. Used to give y'all some run back in the day. But y'all were clearly the best team. I think it was like the 80s Lakers, right? And then you had the Pistons come in the late '80s. The Bad Boys come. You know what I mean? Two great dynasties. You know what I mean? Just two different times. So, I mean, at the time, y'all were getting all the best players, and then, like you said, once DC Assault got the Adidas money behind them, and they started to get the Mike Beasleys of the world, and the DeMar Johnsons, and the Nolan Smiths, and the Quinn Cooks, guys who ultimately became NBA players. It's hard. You can't knock their greatness. You know what I mean? You can't knock the run that they had, but you also can't knock the run that y'all had either, man, because y'all had all the best players before they came around. But just like in today's game, man, the money changes things. You know what I mean? And once they got that Adidas deal behind them, and they were able to travel and go out to all parts of the country, man, and showcase all of the talent that we have here, I think that really legitimized them, man. So I'm gonna stay out of it, but I just say two great dynasties, man, two different times.
But to be clear for our other co-hosts who couldn't join today, Omar old dog, just
Mhm.
just can you tell him the Blue Devils didn't stand a chance?
Nah, the Blue Devils, that man, they definitely run a second. I want to say I know KD was kind of like around there. He played a little bit with Assault, but then he got out of there. He might have played with the Blue Devils, if I'm not mistaken. Markel Starks, who was a really good player from the DMV, they got a couple good little players, but there's no way they can compete with an Executive Three or a DC Assault, in my opinion. No,
Yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead, coach.
And O gonna fire you up for this one, but he can't even have no conversation right now. But nah, so coach, you covered a lot regarding the questions I had. So um my question was going to be, how did you end up at Delaware? But you answered that already. So how did it feel once you got to Delaware, knowing? And I know you said you had no regrets, so I don't want to, kind of spin it that you had any. But how was it once you got there as a player? Because me as a player, I played football, and I literally gone to teams and watched them from afar. Said, "I'm too good to be here," and left. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So once you arrived at Delaware, knowing your caliber of talent and then getting around those guys, how did you feel when you initially got there? And it all worked out. But was there any type of question in your mind about, okay, why am I here, or was that just you just went with because you had such a high regard for your coach, you just went in with, hey, I'm gonna make this thing work, and I'm gonna go in and just show them that I belong here, and maybe somewhere else. How did that, if that question makes sense to you?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Well, first thing I would say is, when I got to Delaware, I wasn't aware that I felt like I was a good player, good enough to play high major, but it wasn't. I wasn't so my ego wasn't so inflated that I felt like I shouldn't be here at all. And in fact, I
Gotcha.
remember going on my visit the year prior and playing pickup with those guys and being like, damn, like these dudes can hoop. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, when I get here, I'm gonna have to show these guys that I can hoop too, because
Okay.
like I was the best player on the floor, when I
Hmm.
went up and played pickup with those guys on the visit.
Okay.
And even starting my freshman year, man, like it was a senior. His name was Greg Smith. He was from down by Kings Dominion, right?
Hmm.
Near Richmond, Virginia.
Yep.
And he was a 6'7" post player. I was a 6'6" post player. And this dude could shoot the lights out. He could
Hmm.
shoot the ball from 17, 18 feet like it was money. So you had to guard him there. And then he was strong and tough around the basket too. And he was a better athlete than me. He could get off
Hmm.
the floor. I couldn't really get off the floor. I was never a great athlete. But he was tough, and he was one of the better players in our league, and
Hmm.
certainly the best player on our team. And so I had struggles. I had tons of struggles with him as a freshman, and it was because of him. In fact, he became the all-time leading scorer my freshman year at Delaware. I never forget they stopped the game and celebrated him. I think he had about at that time I think he finished the season with about 1,750 points or something like that. And so he
Hmm.
was something to be reckoned with. And because of him, I got a lot better my freshman year. I played a
Okay.
lot as expected, started most of the games, but I played a role. I certainly wasn't a guy. He
Hmm.
was a guy. And so my whole thing my freshman year was trying to outplay him.
Hmm.
I was trying to find a way to outduel him every day and figure out a way to compete. And elevate my game above his. But he was a senior, he was strong, he was a man, and I was still a boy. In fact, Coach Bray called me JV quite a bit, that freshman year. You're high school, and so again, iron sharpens iron, though, man, because it got to a point where I felt like I was starting to, compete a lot better against him and get my licks back a little bit. And that helped me become, and then from freshman to sophomore year, I knew that he was going to be leaving, and I wanted to turn up and I wanted to be the guy. So I made a big leap from freshman to sophomore year. I went from averaging like 7 a game as a freshman to 17 a game,
Hmm.
as a sophomore. And it was large in part because of my all of those practices and workouts and just watching him work. So
Nice.
but
Nice.
yeah, no, I felt like I could have played high major, but back then, man, the American East, which was the conference we played in, they had dudes like I'll give you some names. Vin Baker played at Hartford. Reggie Lewis, God rest his soul, rest in peace, who played with the Celtics. He played at Northeastern. Malik Rose just graduated. When I got to Delaware, he had just graduated. He was at Drexel. You know what I mean? Joey Beard, Virginia, right? He went to Duke out of high school, but then he transferred to Boston University. And I played against and graduated with Speedy Claxton, who was a lottery pick out of Hofstra and played for the Sixers. So it was pros. Mid-major basketball was something to be dealt with. The American East was a really good conference. I don't think it's nearly as strong as it once was, but back then, man, like it was some dudes that could definitely hoop, and a lot of guys that you guys wouldn't even know, but they could play.
Yeah. Didn't Lonnie Harrell play in that conference as well?
Lonnie Harrell, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lonnie Harrell played at Northeastern, transferred from Georgetown to Northeastern. He played there for a couple years as well. So yeah, a lot of DMV guys would make their way up to that league. Whether Northeastern, Delaware, Drexel, Hofstra. Towson. Towson has some really good teams as well. So it was a tough league, man. It wasn't a lot of nights off. Like you had to bring your hard hat. You had to come hoop. You couldn't just show up. You had to bring it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, we mentioned that on in the onset of the show that I mean, you put in major work at Delaware. You made your 3-time first team all conference, and you was player of the year your junior year at Delaware. Uh, so during that period,
Hmm.
when you put up numbers like that and you getting those accolades, I'm sure there was a lot of attention thrown your way. Like, did you have like agents and scouts in your ear telling you like, "Hey, look, you have a chance to go to the next level, and here's what we think you are right now." So how did that work for you?
Yeah, no, it was playing mid-major basketball, right? And Dayton was obviously a step up for UCO, but for us, man, that Delaware was like you knew when you played against a high major, that was your opportunity. You knew it was going to be more scouts at that game than any other game because you were probably playing against somebody that had NBA potential. And so I used to really try to rev it up for those games, man, and play well. And I did have some really good games against high major schools, and I started to get a little bit of traffic, a little bit of chirping. Um, but I think that Mike Bray, because of the respect that he demanded being with Duke all of those years, agents, they knew all they had to do was call him if they wanted to get to me. And I didn't get a whole lot of people coming up to me directly. Um, Nothing to really, honestly, I was a good steward. So if somebody came to me, I would tell Mike Bray. And 9 times out of 10, they weren't really with it anyway. Mike was like, "Nah, I got something for you. Don't worry about it." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the media attention was cool. It's so crazy. Whenever I see Seth Davis, we laugh. But Seth Davis, who does the NCAA tournament on Turner Sports, he came up to Delaware and did a story on me. This is when he was like a beat writer with Sports Illustrated, and they did an article on me in Sports Illustrated, one of the highlights of my career. So that was cool. But Mike Bray got out in front of a lot of that stuff, and unbeknownst to me, here we go again with the powers that be. There was an agent, a guy named Herb Boudoy out of Chicago, that had a lot of Duke players at that time, and so Mike Bray had a really good relationship with him. And so if there were other agents that wanted to do something for me, um, I didn't really get a lot of face time with them because Mike Bray, by the time I graduated, had already kind of had it set up for me to get with Herb Boudoy, the agent that was, related, or he had some previous experience with. So, but no, it was cool, man, to get their attention. Sophomore to junior year had a big leap. One of the leading scorers in the country, um, and myself and Terrence Hood, in fact, from the area when the McNamara Slam came in and did an article on us. I'll never forget, the title was "Big Game, Little State." And we were both average. I was averaging like 25. I think he was averaging like 23. So we're putting up big numbers, man, getting a lot of media attention. And for me though, Cole, I will say this, man. I was realistic. Like I wanted to play in the league, we all did, but I also knew because back then we played, it was real power forwards out there. You had the best of the best. It was power forward era. It was the power forward era of the NBA, in my opinion. You talk about guys like Tim Duncan, who was probably the greatest power forward, Dirk Nowitzki, Shea Wallace, Chris Webber. So I'm watching all these guys in the league, and I'm watching them play my position, which was the four. And all of them, all of the best ones, are like 6'10", 6'11".
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was only 6'5". And so in my mind, I was like, well, maybe I can convert my game and become more of a three, but I'm gonna have to get it like I've gotten everything else. I'm gonna have to go through the back door. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to go from the ground up. And so after college, I played in the CBA, and even then, it was like, here we go again. Like these dudes can hoop, they men, and I'm back to being more of a boy. And I got to take my lips and take my lumps and figure it out. Um, but no, all in all, man, it was. I had a really good run at Delaware. I really tried to go at the high majors because I thought that I could play at that level. And but in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that if I had 3 more inches, I could probably really be in contention to play in the league, but I don't. And so now I just want to go try to just see the world and make some money for as long as I can. So I have more realistic expectations for myself than a lot of kids do.
Thanks. Go ahead, Coach.
So we're gonna I'm gonna take you back a little bit. You don't went through you're now kind of out of your college plan. How did it feel to get into the Hall of Fame, man, and go back and speak to your folks at DeMatha?
Oh man, that coach touched the nerve with that one, man. That was an awesome experience for me. It's harder to make the Hall of Fame at DeMatha than it is most universities. Like I literally got inducted into the Hall of Fame at Delaware, maybe 5 years after I graduated, and because of what I did there, that was a foregone conclusion. But I wasn't exactly sure if I would make it at the Mather. Like I said, we lost that city title game my 12th grade year. I thought they might hold that against me. You know, but nah, it was surreal. Because of everything that I struggled through from ninth grade on. I didn't want to be there a lot of days, especially my ninth and 10th grade years, man. It was hard. I wasn't playing varsity, sitting on the bench my 10th grade years on varsity, played freshman as a ninth grader. Just had a lot of hard times there, man. And to have fought through all of that, on and off the court, and to get to a point where you graduate from there and you look back and you make a lot of great memories, man. It was awesome that they thought highly enough to induct me. And then beyond that, um, at that time when I got inducted, unfortunately, I was going through a divorce. And so, one second, fellas. Um, but unfortunately, I was going through a divorce at the time. And I took my son with me on that trip. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in the crowd with him before they were going to announce my name to come up. And his godmother was saying, do you want me to hold him or are you going to take him up there? And he was acting squirrely. He had to be like maybe 2 or 3 at the time. And he didn't want to go to anybody else. He just wanted to be with me. I said, nah, I'm going to take my son up there with him. And it was one of the best decisions I made. He tried to take over. He tried to act like he was the Hall of Fame. But it was a great moment. I literally, it's funny you mentioned that. That's why I said it touched the nerve. We watched that video. I think I did like a 3-4 minute speech or whatever. We watched that video the other night in bed, and he laughed. He thought it was so funny, just to see himself up there and just holding him and telling my story a little bit and being inducted. Man, it was a special moment for sure.
That's dope. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Awesome. So Mike, did you go to pre-draft camps or anything like that?
Yeah, you know what, Cole? So back and even to this day, Portsmouth is the big deal, right? That's the
Yep.
first. Everybody wants to get to Chicago, but you got to get to Portsmouth, especially if generally if you're a mid-major guy, it's hard to get right to Chicago. And so
Hmm.
I was on the list of guys that were supposed to be at Portsmouth, but I was an alternate. And I'll never forget it to this day. Kenny Blakeney, who's now the head coach at Howard, was my assistant coach at Delaware, right? And that was my guy, still is to this day. And so because I was an alternate, they said, hey, listen, you should come down because somebody can get hurt or somebody might not show up and you'll be in there. And I'm like, Blake was like, Mike, we going down there. So we drove to Portsmouth and again, I'm on the alternate list. They had the guys, I don't know how many guys they select, but I wasn't on that initial list. I was on a few guys down from all the other guys. And
That's crazy. The
it's
college
crazy.
career you had, you are alternate for Portsmouth.
Yeah, it's crazy, Coach. Like I felt like, man, I scored over 2,000 points in college. Like I said, I ain't had no picks. I gave it to high majors just like I gave it to guys in my conference. And so I didn't think anything of it. Like I thought I'd be a lock. And for whatever reason, I was an alternate man. And so, guys, everybody showed up, nobody got hurt. And me and Blake literally went down there, man, for like a day and sat around to see what was going to shake, and nothing shook, man. So we came back, and I never got in. And so then I started to do some other stuff. Like um, I went all the way out to Cali. Like the NBA Summer League was starting to surface a little bit, and they had it out at Long Beach one year. And Tutu was out there. You're right, my man too. So two
Yeah.
was out there, and we played in like this event that was like more so free agents, right? And we would play, and then the NBA guys would come on after us. You know what I mean? And so it gave like overseas scouts an opportunity to see some of the NBA guys and the free agent guys. So I did a little stuff like that. The G League was just starting to come around. You know, I did a couple of those things. Like I said, the CBA, but I never really felt like I got a shot to play in front on the floor with other NBA potential guys. You know what I mean? In that setting, like a Portsmouth or Chicago pre-draft camp. So again, and I knew it had everything to do with my height, man, because a lot of what I did was back to the basket at six
Mhm.
six. And back then, I just don't think that they thought that it translated to that level when guys were 6'10", 6'11", you know, playing my position, which is why I knew I had to be as my professional career went on, which I did to some degree, but I had to do it overseas.
Yeah, yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Hmm.
So speaking of the overseas stuff, can you share with the listeners and the viewers, man, how what is that like? Because a lot of times I think a lot of players feel like because America dominates the sport so much, we're used to. What was it like taking your game overseas? What was that experience like as far as the talent, change of culture, and just kind of change? Because I think you got to change your game up a little bit too, because
Yeah.
it's a little bit different game,
Yeah,
correct?
the rules are different. You know, obviously the officiating is slanted towards rewarding calls for their players. You know, they call us imports, so that should tell you a lot right there. You know, when you get there, man, like they know who you are, they know what you're supposed to do, but they can care less about you at the same time. You
That,
know,
hey,
so
that first step going right, they call it travel.
oh my God, man. Look, the jab cross, I had to learn Kobe to put the ball down first.
First, yep.
You had to put the ball because if you did it, if you made that move, it was a travel every single
Every time.
time. You know, I remember like being around the rim and putting something up on the rim, and them knocking it off the rim. I'm like, hold up, that was about to go in. You know, they going down the other end. You know, so and then back then it was the wide lane. You know, so just
Mhm.
Yep.
that paint and yeah, it was just different, man. Getting used to the rules, getting used to the officiating. It's a very, very physical game. It's well coached in most places where you go. They're not big on you isolating and dribbling the ball and doing a whole lot. They want you to pass and cut and move and screen and now if you get in the rhythm, they're gonna let you rock. But at the same time, they want you to ingratiate yourself to their brand of basketball and not come in heavily, like prideful about doing things your way. And if you can
Mhm.
find a way to meet them in the middle, that's when you'll have the most success. But for guys who go over there and think they're going to do things the way they've always done them and kind of put their nose in the air and act like, oh, y'all don't know nothing about basketball. I'm from America. I play ball. We got the best basketball. Like, you better be a hell of a player. You better be getting 30 and 40 a night if that's how you going to roll, because as we've seen, the game has grown immensely. And some of the best coaches, some of the best actions that you see wind up being utilized by NBA coaches is coming from Europe.
Yeah.
No mistake about it. Like, they know the game and they can coach the game, and their players are getting better every year. I'm on a college coaching staff now where we utilize the Euro League um, as much as we use the NBA. To educate ourselves on the nuances of the game and the different actions that we want to look at and defenses and all types of stuff, man. I mean, they run some good stuff over there. That, like I said, their kids play for bread and meat over there. They don't go to school like, as a 13, 14-year-old player, if you're really good and you can make their main team, you can feed your family. You know what I mean? That's how big of a deal it is over there for their players and for their coaches. And it's a way out, like it is for us as well. But you can't underestimate the influence and the knowledge of the game that they have over there. So luckily I was raised to be humble. I definitely wanted to go over there with an open mind. And I went over there, man, and I played for, some different situations, like you talked about the change in lifestyle, getting adjusted to the the cultural differences and the language differences. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on. It's not for everybody. I mean, when you over there, you gone. You know, I remember getting on the plane with some guys from Pegues,
No, we lost him.
they were crying, man. They were like, I was crying. I was like, shit, I'm this, you know what I mean? This flight like 10 hours. Like, I ain't gonna see these folks forever. You know, I thought I was going to outer space or something, you know. So yeah, man, it was rough, but I went to Italy my first job out,
Right.
and man, it was something else. I was in a beautiful place called Rimini, Italy, and
Oh man, I love Remini.
yeah, I was in Rimini, man. I was right there like San Marino, that
Yeah,
area right on the water.
a lot of
And,
clubs and bars in Remini.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was right there, man. I was right there. I was playing that guy Herb Redoy. It's so crazy because he sent me over there right for a trial phase. I never forget this. I was supposed to play in something called the Courage Cup, right?
Mm,
And I was gonna play in a couple games, and he's gonna have his overseas agent check me out, and they were gonna base where I should go next based on my performance. So I never forget that first professional game. They threw the ball up. I was like, "Damn, I'm a pro. I'm getting paid to play basketball." And I was shook the whole first half. Like I took myself out of the game right with that thought. You know what I mean? And I didn't play well at all that first half. And I'll never forget this. The overseas agent, he had a pretty little Italian woman with him. He's sitting on the front row. And at halftime, this man got up and walked out. He
mm,
left, right? Now in the second half, Kobe, I had like 35 alone in the second half. I went bananas, went crazy. And we
mm,
wound up losing at the buzzer. And then we played in another game and I had another 25 piece. But I just felt like he didn't see the best of me. You know what I mean? He just saw what he wanted to see and made an early, observation and ran with it. And I
mm,
think that kind of that led to the deal that they were trying to give me, which initially was okay. They were going to send me to France, right? They were going to send me to France. They said that it was more English spoke in that particular part of the country. It was a good league. It was A2, right? Not their second division, but it was on a team that back then, if you were like top two in the league of the A2, you would go to A1. And then the
right.
bottom two teams of A1 would go down to A2. And so it was a team that was emerging that had a chance. So it was going to be for like 10 grand a month. I was like, all right, I'll take that. And then he calls me back and he's like, this is on a bus ride home from Switzerland. And he's like, man, that deal fell through. You know, got something else, a little less money, not as good of a team. And I'm just like, hold up, I'm getting jerked around. Your partner left at halftime. You present me with a deal that I like. Now you taking that back and putting something else in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. I just want to go back home. And this is the guy, Herb Rudoy, that Mike Prayer put me with. And I'll never forget when I met with him, he said, Mike, I've had a lot of clients. But the one thing, my one rule is, if you ever leave me, I will never take your call again. But I left him. I told him to send me home because I had found out that I was drafted in the CBA. So I wanted to get home anyway. I'm like a few months into being in Italy, no English at all. I mean, the spaghetti and the lasagna and the pizza is good, but damn, I wanted something else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I wanted a cheeseburger sub from the Capital Carryout or something, fish fillet. I wanted to do something else. And I was just tired of being there, man. And I asked them to send me home. They sent me home, and I played in the CBA my rookie year. And then later on in my career, I tried to call that guy back, and you know what? He was a man of his word. He never took my call. You
Wow.
but I bounced around, man, to wrap it all up. I played in Argentina, I played in England, I played in New Zealand, I played in some great places, played against some really good players. Um, I actually played against some coaches that wind up in some being in the front office and in the NBA, So I had some really good experiences, man. But little did I know my knee was falling apart.
Mm,
Had a really bad cartilage damage in my right knee. And in fact, last summer I had knee replacement, full knee replacement in my
right.
right knee because it just wore down over the years, man. A lot of mileage on that knee. So I
Mm,
was only able to play from age 22 to 27. So I only got 5 seasons out of it, man. But I was able to see the world and do some things, man. It was a really cool experience.
awesome. Well, where'd you play out in Argentina? That was the last country I played in. Was
That was the
Argentina?
last country I played into. I played for Cordoba.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What was it called? Tennis.
Yeah. Yeah. The tennis. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
We
played
played.
for
Yeah.
tennis.
I played with the Regattas.
Okay. I remember them. I played for tennis. They wore green, and they thought they was the Celtics too.
Yeah.
But they was the Celtics, man. I was in Cordoba. And man, funny story, man. So you talk about lifestyle change. How about this, coach? So I'm over there. Y'all bringing all this stuff up. So we practicing right one day, and
Mhm.
so the guys, like the coaches and the front office people, they kind of running around talking in Spanish, and I know a little bit of Spanish, un poquito, right, a little bit, right.
Mhm.
So me and another dude, Cortez Groves, he went to Kansas State. He was a hell of a player. He spoke better Spanish than me, and so they run over to him because everybody's in like a little bit of a panic, and they tell Cortez what's up, and Cortez looked at me and was like, Mike, it's a jailbreak. So it was a jail in the neighborhood in which we practice, and it was a real live jailbreak. Criminals running through the streets. You know, who knows what they did? Murders, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we ran up out of practice, and Cortez, we had a car, but we lived close enough to where we could walk to practice. So we had to run home through the streets. We looking over our shoulders, looking for dudes in orange jumpsuits. Man, you talk about a cultural change, man. I lived it. I
You
lived it.
sound like you was living in Lorton.
Right, right, right. It was like DC jail in there that day, man. Dude was running for their life, man. But Argentina was a beautiful place, but it was the haves and have-nots, man.
Yeah.
You know what it's like, Kobe, to go overseas, man. Like you find out how sweet we got it. You know, like it was people who had a lot of money living a beautiful lifestyle, and then it was literally people living in huts
Yeah.
without running water,
Those
without
tin
electricity.
shacks.
Oh man, it was
Yeah.
such, man. But yeah, man, good, mostly good times over there. Mostly good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, coach. You want to jump in there?
So yeah, so you're now in the coaching,
Hmm.
and at the coaching level, I have a couple of good friends that you guys probably both know: Kevin Keats, James Johnson, Walt Webb. All those dudes are coaching at the next level.
Hmm.
But being a football player, man, you run into guys that never played the game,
Hmm.
right? But that still doesn't mean that they can't be good coaches. Can you talk about that? Have you ran into guys like that at the coaching level that have never played the game, but they study the game to the point
Hmm.
and still end up being good coaches, or have you experienced something different with that?
I would say that more so in my case, I've seen guys who haven't played at the highest levels. They haven't played at a Dayton, they haven't played at a Delaware, they didn't play for a DeMatha, but they played, right? They
Hmm.
weren't very good. They weren't very good. But most of the coaches that I've come across that I know that are somebody that I would, get on the phone with and talk hoops with and ask questions to, and things of that nature, confide in. Um, they're guys who have at least played. They
Okay.
just haven't been as good. You wouldn't know them from their playing days, but they
Hmm.
love the game so much, and they probably got to a point in their career, the player, where they realized I'm never going to make any money playing this game, but I love it, and I'm going to learn as much about it as I possibly can. And honestly, a lot of guys who come to that conclusion sooner set themselves up to be move ahead in the college and the coaching ranks a lot easier, a lot smoother, and a lot faster than guys like myself who, you kind of chase the dream, right? You grow
Hmm.
up playing and you want to try to pursue, the ultimate goal, playing in the NBA and playing professionally and playing for money, and you chase it for a while. It was probably a blessing in disguise that my knee went out on me at 27, because I didn't get into college coaching myself until I was 30, which is relatively late, whereas there were guys who I had never heard of that were already college coaches, already moving up the ranks, that were like GAs the second that they graduated college, because they knew that they had no business even thinking about pursuing a professional career. They didn't even have a chance to. So they got right into coaching right away. And Shaka Smart, for instance, who I worked for my first year at VCU, Shaka loves the game. I mean, loves it. As you can see, through the passion that but I'm telling you, he loves playing it. When I was at
Yeah.
VCU, our staff games, when like we wouldn't even, it would be days we didn't even talk to each other the next day after a staff game. I mean, Shaka would talk shit, and we went at it. We went at it in them staff
Shout
games.
out to Shaka.
Yeah, man, he loves the hoop, but he knew that he wasn't going to play professionally. He became a GA at his I think he went to a Division III school. I can't think of it right now. It's in
You,
Ohio.
you know, he was a video coordinator at Dayton.
Yes, absolutely. Under
Yeah,
Oliver Purnell. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's
That's
right.
when I first met Shaka. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. He talked a lot about OP and his times at Dayton, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's right. Yep. Now Shaka was the first. He gave me my opportunity, man. That's a crazy story as well, how I got into college coaching. Because when I got back at 27, man, I didn't know what I was gonna do in life. It's an eerie feeling, Kobe, as you know, probably you as well, coach. When they stop cheering for you, man, when they stop doing this,
Yeah.
you can't pick up that ball to make money. It's not a part of your daily life anymore. It's weird. It's hard. That transition is hard, and a lot of other people, man, have sadly, taken their lives because of it, because the game has been taken away from them. And so it wasn't that extreme for me, thank God, but it was still nonetheless, it was hard. And I didn't really know what I was going to do next. And so naturally, I gravitated to working with kids and ball, and I did some teaching and worked a lot of odd jobs. I went to O'Connell, coached under Joe Wooten. Obviously, my mentor's son, who I love to death, Joe's my guy. And I went back to assault, and it took me 3 years. I thought just because I scored 2,000 points in college and played overseas for a few years that I should automatically get a college job. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. Those points you score don't mean nothing when it comes to coaching. So I had to prove my worth. I had to get it out the mud and coach some high schools, some AAU, and luckily, man, like it's like they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And Joe Wooten introduced me to Dave Teller, who at the time, Dave Tellem had the biggest basketball scouting service. He's now director of scouting for the Spurs. And I didn't know Dave, but unbeknownst to me, Dave knew me. Joe Wooden introduced me to Dave at a high school tournament that I was at. And Dave walked up to me, and I should put my hand out, and I said, Dave Tellem, it's a pleasure to meet you. He said, Mike Pegues, I know everything about you. You never know who's watching. Dave was actually working on his master's degree in communication at the University of Delaware. So he used to broadcast my games, right?
Wow.
To broadcast my games. Now, you think about this. What if I was an asshole at Delaware? What if I was a guy who thought, oh, I'm too good to be at Delaware? And that was the stigma that I had. You know what I mean? Or if Mike Bray said I was a bad guy.
Hmm.
Dave Tellep had recommended that I get the job at VCU with Shaka Smart, who was his best friend. Not at all. But because I was a good dude, I was raised the right way, and I did things the right way. Dave Tellep made a phone call to Shaka Smart, and that's how I got my start in the business when I was 30 years old back in 2009, and been in it ever since. So just a short story, but man, I think that says a lot, man. Like, you never know where your help is going to come from. So be a good dude because you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
That's crazy you said that, because I was going to say the same thing, kind of reverence that when I was talking to you about your Hall of Fame speech
Mhm.
at the Mather.
Yeah.
You looking out into the crowd and you seeing all these faces of people that were there when you were in high school. Luckily you went in and did everything the right way, because one, you probably would have never been able to get up there. But then
Mhm.
two, imagine having that stigma. You're ingratiating yourself to the crowd, and you didn't have that personality or that type of reputation coming out of high school. So I'm glad you touched on that, because a lot of kids don't understand that. Like, they get caught up in the social media area, and they worry about, saying and doing stuff on social media, but they don't understand who's watching and
Mhm.
where they're watching from, especially now because of there's so much attention, and eyes on them now. So that's an awesome point that you made.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Everybody's a journalist these days, man. Anybody who got a phone is a journalist. And I tell the kids that I coach now, man, like, be careful, treat people the right way, treat the janitor here in our arena the right way, treat your teachers and your classmates the right way. Just be a good dude. Don't do it for your own personal gain, but just be a good guy. You never know who's watching.
Yeah,
You never know who's got their phone out when you at a party. You know what I mean? Like, all of that stuff is a reflection on you first and foremost, you and your family, but also our family.
yeah,
You don't want to misrepresent yourself, man, by wilding out because you don't think anybody's looking. Somebody's always watching, especially these days.
Yeah.
indeed, indeed.
And Mike, how much did coaching with DC Assault develop you and get you prepared for coaching at the next level? Because I know there was a lot of coaches from that coaching tree that went on and got college jobs and went on to do well. Did that help you a lot to prepare you for the next level?
Yeah, it definitely did. I wouldn't, not so much like X's and O's per se, but just more so like the grind of it, right? Like investing in the kids, getting them to practice, taking them home, interacting with them and their players. We had big time players. We had
Right.
everybody on the team was high major, whether they went high major or not, but they were high major talents. And so being able to find an angle to communicate with them and to get through to them was something is a skill, that I would obviously use and still using to this day, So being able to, in the heat of the moment, right, when a guy does something dumb and, you know, you're enraged, he's enraged, like learning over time how to get the most out of that situation as opposed to just appeasing your own, anger, you know what I mean? Or just jumping on a kid, like just finding different avenues and different ways to get through to the kids. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is to get the message across, right? Is to fix the solution, fix the problem and get to the solution. So just being able to interact with kids, their parents, recruiting, uh, travel, being out on the road, you want to have a good time, but you got 16, 17-year-old kids out in Vegas, you got to make sure they squared away first, so all of that stuff translated to college. When I got to VCU, we had Larry Sanders. I love Larry Sanders. Larry Sanders was a hell of a player. And so being with Assault, I had already coached. And I knew if I would just be myself and come from the heart, that I could reach Larry and all the other players on our team, just like I was able to reach the guy with Assault. So it definitely helped out tremendously.
Hmm. Okay. And skipping, a few years up a little bit. We talked a little bit offline. You coached under Coach Matt,
Mm.
and I think that you got your start there at Xavier, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about your experience coaching at Xavier and under Coach Matt.
Yeah, no, it was mind blowing, man, because I was at that time went from VCU to Delaware for 2 years back to my alma mater, and I was comfortable at Delaware. It was obviously home for me, my second home, only an hour and a half north of my hometown. And I had at that time no real ambition of moving up because I had just got to Delaware. I just finished up my second year. I was working for a really good guy. I was making the most money that I'd made to that point. I knew it was more money out there, but I wasn't really chasing money. I was chasing more so quality of life and the opportunity of being in a good place around good people and learning and growing. And out of nowhere, I got a call from Chris Mack. And I didn't know Chris Mack from a can of paint. But going back to what we talked about earlier, he had heard good things about me. We actually had a GA on our staff who was a GA there. And little did I know, the people at Xavier, Chris Mack and his staff, that they were going to lose they lost two assistant coaches. And so another guy on the staff was kind of communicating with this GA about me off and on throughout the year. Just like, what's he like? Is he a good recruiter? Is he good to player development? Does he do good at scouting? Like all of this information was, you know, all of this exchanges were going on behind my back through the GA. I didn't even know about it. And so at the end of the year, sure enough, they lost two assistant coaches, and they called me. They called a buddy of mine, Ashley Howard, who's an assistant coach at Villanova. Great dude, great ball player out of Philly as well. He played at Drexel, and man, we packed up, and actually we went on the interview. And he hired us both on the spot, and then we packed up my Tahoe, man, back then, and drove out to Ohio, man, and to when you get out here in the Midwest, it's a little different. It's different, right? Like quality of life, lifestyle, slower, but the basketball part is different. We hoop out east, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that we're not well coached. Like we guys are really good coaches, but when it comes to the fundamentals of the game, right? I mean, these guys, they just put on clinics in terms of the way that they coach and the expectations that they put on young players. And so I had to kind of learn the game from a different angle when I got under Mac, because he's obviously born and raised right in Cincinnati. He worked under Sean Miller. He had really good coaches throughout his career. He learned a lot from Sean, and he basically wanted to, you know, implement what Sean had already been doing. He wanted to run it back at Xavier. And so I had to learn all new terminology, things like, whatever I would call something, whatever, and they had a different terminology for it, and I couldn't mess that up. I had to get that right because he wanted everything filtered down from him through us to the players, and he wanted consistency on that. Um,
Mhm.
he was a hardworking guy, extremely prepared every day, very, very, very demanding. Um, he never lowered the rim, as he would say.
Mhm.
Little kids, they want you to lower the rim so they can make more shots. He never lowered the rim. The rim gonna be 10 feet every day. The standard gonna be the standard every day. You know, 15 minutes before practice, I want you lathered up and ready to go. So when that horn go off, these next 2 hours we get into it. And so I had to learn and adjust to his plan of his course of action, his perspective on the game and how things should be done. And it was an adjustment for me, but I knew it prior to me getting there, and I was hungry. I wanted to show him that, hey, I can make this adjustment. You know what I mean? Like, I love the game. I know the game. I know people. I just have to get used to how you do things, and I got used to it. And sure enough, man, like my first year there, we struggled, but for the next 5 seasons at Xavier, we went to the NCAA tournament. We went to two Sweet 16s. We went to an Elite Eight. We were a 1 seed at Xavier. We were a
Yeah.
1 seed. We won a Big East regular season championship during Villanova's height when they were really good with Brunson and all those guys. So we won a lot of games, man. It was the most winning I had done in my career. And from there, he was able to get the Louisville job, and I clearly adjusted to how he wanted to do things because he knocked on my door towards the end of the season. He said, "Hey, I'm gonna take this Louisville job. I want you to go with me." So I went to Louisville with him. We were there for 4 years. Got off to a pretty good start, and then on the back end, it kind of got ugly. He wound up stepping down, and I became the interim head coach, as you guys may know, at Louisville, and that was a mind blowing experience as well because I hadn't stood up as a head coach since AAU. I coached Quinn Cook on 16 and under. I was the head coach. That was the last time I was the head coach. So I remember the day he told me, man, I couldn't believe it. But Chris is a great coach, man. Good guy, a disciplinarian in terms of, the expectations and demands. And I get it. I mean, you got to be a little bit of a dick, to be honest. If you're going to win at a high level, it's high stakes. And
Mhm.
he understood that, and he was prepared and ready every day. Great energy every day. Well thought out plans in terms of things that we needed to get done, and he carried it out. And he was a professional, and I learned a lot from him.
Awesome.
Now, so you touched on it a little bit. So you've been at VCU, Delaware, Xavier,
Mm-hmm.
Louisville, and now Butler.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? And while at Louisville, you went from assistant coach to interim tag, right? You got the interim tag.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest challenges of moving through those? Because there are 4 different programs,
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 different locations,
Yeah.
and then you at Louisville with all the that's probably one of the blue chip schools
Right.
out there.
Good
So
blood.
what was some of the challenges and what was the biggest differences with making those transitions?
Well, like I said, initially going from being an East Coast guy and seeing the game pretty much through one lens, and then going to Xavier and working for Mac, who was totally different. Was very structured, was very coordinated in his plan of action and how he wanted to do things and learning all new vernacular. But I was able to be with him for 10 years. So I grew in that system. And so one of the biggest challenges I had coming here to Butler, and I'll go back to Louisville, was learning a different way after being Mac for 10 years, and Thad Thad's got his own thing going, and he's a phenomenal guy, but he's not Chris Mack, and I had grown and groomed myself under, Mac and doing things his ways. And so having to adjust here at Butler has been different. The approach, right? Like Mac was, he rattled cages, you know what I mean? Like it was, he was gonna get in your face. He was gonna raise his voice. He was gonna kick your ass out of practice if you wasn't ready to go. He was more of an authoritarian. Whereas that is more laid back, and he wants it to be more of a positive and free flowing environment, and it's more love and pats on the back than it is foots in the ass. So that was an adjustment in and of itself, and I'm still getting used to that because that's how I was coached. I was coached hard. Morgan never cussed, but he let you know when you was wrong. You know what I mean? Mike Bray would cuss, and he would let you know when you was wrong. Um, but going to Louisville, man, that really, like you said, blue chip, blue blood program, and I knew it was blue blood program. I thought I knew going up there, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting in my office one of the first days, and the SID comes in. He was like, "Hey, um, local news is here. They want to interview you." I'm like, "Interview me? Like I'm an assistant coach. Like that's for Mac to deal with. Why they need to talk to me?" And sure enough, he walked me into our media room, and it's like 20 members of the local media in there. Cameras on, Mike here, I'm an assistant coach. So that's when I knew that I had stepped up. We had leveled up. Once we got to Louisville, ACC, and we would have had a rough time, man. Right after Patino and the whole federal investigation and cheating and all of that, and it really hampered our ability to recruit. But nonetheless, I thought we did an outstanding job. Our first year, we took a team that not many people thought could be a tournament team. We were a tournament team. And then that following year, that was the COVID year, we were special. We were number one in the country at one point. And we would have easily been a top 5 seed in the tournament and probably had the best chance in my career to make a Final Four. But unfortunately, COVID shut everything down right around conference tournament time. So you never know what could have happened there. And then that third year, we were literally the first team out. Like, that's the spot you never want to be in, man. Like, we were the 65th team. Sitting at the table, Louisville does everything big, so all the cameras are there. And for us to find out that we were the first team out, man, at Louisville, that's when you started to feel like it was getting away from us. And but that next year, man, some stuff went down, and coach got suspended for the first 6 games. And I'll never forget it, man, because as good of a coach as Mac was, he wasn't a personable guy all the time. He could be, obviously, but not all the time. He's pretty blunt and direct.
Mm-hmm.
He called a staff meeting. He was like, "Fellas, some things went down. I've been suspended for the first 6 games. And Mike, you're going to be the head coach for the first 6 games. Try not to fuck it up. Try not to go 0-6," is what he said. Like, that was his motivational speech to me. Try not to go 0-6. And that was the first that I had heard about any suspension or me having to step into that position. So you talk about floored, like my chin hit the ground. Like, I had no idea that was coming. But I had to quickly gather myself, man, and I called Shaka, who's my guy, and asked him for some advice. And one of the things he asked me to do, he said, "Mike, above all else, be yourself." He said, "Second of all, write your thoughts down every day." So I started a journal.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout that whole process, man. And I'll go back and read it now because it invigorates me even now to this day. It reminds me of the passion, the adversity, and all the challenges that I had during that time. But I learned a lot about myself as a person and as a coach. Definitely went through some struggles. But those first 6 games, man, we went 5-1. Lost a tough game to Furman at home, a game you shouldn't lose. And I had to deal with all of the social media scrutiny from the Louisville fans. Who is this guy? Who is this clown? What's he doing? Shouldn't be the head coach, blah, blah, blah. And, then we go to the Bahamas and we play Maryland. We play Mississippi State, Ben Howland. And then we play Maryland at the time, Mark Turgeon. And, man, when I tell you we won both of those games and won that chip, it was the Baja Mar Championship. We won that. That was a surreal moment for me, to go from being a long-time assistant coach and finally get an opportunity to be a head coach and win that event. I'll never forget how gracious Ben Howland was after we beat them. We beat them by like 20. We beat them by 30 most of the game, and we blew him out, man. And after the game, he shook my hand. He said, "You did an unbelievable job. You had your team so prepared. You guys were so ready." And to hear that, just have a guy like him compliment you who's played in Final Fours, competed for Final Fours, and championships, meant a lot. So it was a cool experience, man. But then on the back end, it wasn't so great. We lost a lot of games on the back end. Coach Mack decided to step down, and he kind of left me holding the bag a little bit because the guys had checked out. We weren't a tournament team. Guys were frustrated at how the year had gone with Coach being suspended and then me being the head coach. I think they got a little used to me being the head coach. And then when I came back coaching, and I should have been consoling.
Yeah.
I mean, and Troy Weaver, my longtime mentor, told me that. He said, Mike, I thought you did a great job those first 6 games, man. You coaching your ass off. And he said, when you came back, you were still coaching. And you should have been consoling them guys because they had been through a lot. And I should have felt that, and I didn't. That's one of my biggest regrets, you know. But we competed, you know. I'm sitting there. How about this? I'll give you another little story. So they honored Denny Crum at a game, right? So we played Duke at home. Mac decides to leave when we play Duke in Carolina. That's a good time to leave, right?
Yeah.
So we got Coach K, we got Duke at home, we got Tar Heels coming in after that. So they honored Denny Crum, so they taking all these pictures. And I'm like photo bombing, man. I feel like, you know, it's me, Denny Crum, and Coach K out there taking pictures. You know, so one day, man, I got to get that thing in a big frame and put that up in the basement because that's an awesome moment. But stood up in the Dean Dome, you know, was really competitive against Carolina twice. Should have beat them once at home. That was the only tech I got. I thought they robbed us on that one. But got the chance to coach against Mike Bray. He was at Notre Dame at the time, and they were beating us the whole game, and we came back, and I thought we were going to get them, but they snuck out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Got an ACC tournament win, beat Clemson, you know, on the back end. So it was a cool experience, man. It was gratifying for me. You know, it let me know that I could do it, you know, if given an opportunity. And I pursued some head coaching jobs thereafter. Came in second at GW. Caputo got the job, and interviewed for some other things. But I've been pretty fortunate and obviously and comfortable being here at Butler and until something else presents itself. So I
Yeah.
know I said a lot, man. I give y'all long-winded
Oh
answers.
no, man. We
Yeah,
no, we
that's
love
what it's
hearing the
about.
stories, man. We love hearing it. Wow. So during that time, during your coaching stint, there were a couple opportunities
Mm-hmm.
to to go back to DeMatha. Did you ever consider that? Because I know that job opened up twice
Yeah,
within. Yeah.
yeah. Nah, that's a great question, Cause it crossed my mind, but uh, I, I wasn't in a place where I felt like that was the best move for me. You know,
Okay.
like Dwayne Simpkins and I have had conversations about it. Corey McCray, who's an assistant coach, the math grad up at BC. Some of the other guys, you know, because you know shout out to the current head coach Mike Jones. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's a great dude. I think he's got a tall task, right? Like you're trying to replace two legends, Morgan Wooten and Mike Jones. You know, the original Mike Jones, who
Yeah.
really did a great job taking over the program after Morgan retired. And the expectations for that place are through the roof, and they always will be. You know, I hope so anyway. Certainly during my lifetime, and so he's got a huge mountain in front of him to try to get us back to, you know,
Hmm.
in hell, one of the best schools in the area, let alone in the country. Because
Right.
now, you know, PBI has taken that over.
Yeah.
Uh, and other schools are chomping at the bit, you know, St. John's, Gonzaga, McNamara's got a really good team this year. They're probably the most talented team in the WCAC. And so Mike's got a tall task in front of him. But I thought about it, but I just felt like after being in college for so long, I was better suited to be in college. And to be honest with you, Cole, I didn't want to go back home and
Yeah.
have to get back in the streets in terms of recruiting kids out of elementary school, kids in junior high, you know, grappling for them. Uh,
Hmm.
I just didn't see me doing it. I just felt like that was a little, you know, I had moved so far along in my career that I felt a lot more comfortable. If I'm a recruit, I'm going out and I'm recruiting high school kids and not kids that young. Because I'll be honest, I can watch a fifth grader play and be like, dang, he's pretty good. But by the time he's in ninth grade, he might not even like basketball. You know
Right.
what I mean? As far as I know, at least I got a better feel, you know, when kids are in high school, you know, how serious they are about the game. So that's a different level of coaching, a different level of patience and understanding. And I didn't think it was best, you know, a good enough fit for me.
Yeah, and shout out to my man, my guy Coach Strickland, who took that job for a temporary time. I think
Hmm.
before Mike took the job, correct?
Yeah, yeah. They gave it to Pete on an interim basis, and Pete's a great guy. You know, I know Pete well. Did you play for Pete?
He was our head assistant coach at Dayton. That was my guy. Me and Purnell didn't mess, but
Yeah,
Pete Strickland, that was my dude.
Yeah, yeah. No, Pete's a great dude, great coach. I felt bad for him because a lot of the Mather players just felt like the administration mishandled that by throwing Pete out there
Mm,
because a lot of people, I think it was a little racial connotation to it. I think people felt like they were trying to rewind the hands of time, and after Mike had done such a great job, the expectation on as players, former players, was that another former player, uh, you know, a brother more than likely would
mm,
take the job. And so when they threw Pete out there, um, it was like, hold up, y'all trying to pull a move. You know what I mean? Like y'all just threw Pete out there. It was no conversation with the alumni, people who some people they are writing checks. And it's like, hold up, I don't have any say so on this. And so I think they really put Pete in a bad spot, you know.
right.
And I didn't like the process. Not so much Pete being there because Pete's an awesome guy and a great man and a great coach. But just the process uh, was murky and it wasn't very well done in my opinion. And then fast forward to, them hiring Mike. I think he's a good guy, goes without saying, and he was doing really good things at St. Stephen, St. Agnes. But the idea of having a non-DeMatha guy there really, shook some people up. Myself as well, I can speak for myself. Like I wasn't in love with that notion, to be honest. I'm happy for Mike. I hope he gets it turned around. I think he's a great dude, a good coach. But having somebody over there is, looking over at the bench and not seeing the Mather guys, but like, oh, that's such and such. He graduated in, '94 and he played with whoever, not having that camaraderie is a little weird you know, but I tell you what, it can all be absolved if Mike gets the program turned around and wins some games. Winning cures all. So hopefully he can do that.
Right, right. And one of the reasons why I asked you that question was because when I saw that job open up, I was like, your name was the first name that popped in my mind. I was like, wonder if Mike interested in come
Yeah.
getting that job because I just felt like a DeMatha person would have some sense of responsibility, you and some of
Yeah.
the former alum to like,
Right.
hey, we gotta go in there and make sure the ship is still
Right.
moving in the right direction.
Right, right. No, it definitely crossed my mind, but I think at the time all of that was going down, I may have been at Louisville, maybe, or back into Xavier, and man, I had a taste of, I was one game away from being in the Final Four,
Right.
and then now I'm at Louisville and I'm in the ACC and it's big time, and honestly, I'm making the most money I made in my career, and I know you're gonna take a huge pay cut if you go to the math and you do that financially, and then just the allure of being in the college coaching ranks, man, being on the biggest stages, playing on TV. Not to say that I had gotten big time at all, but I just felt like I had got to a pinnacle in my career where I felt comfortable and I was in a good place, and I didn't want to change all of that to come back to DeMatha because, quite honestly, I feel like there's so many qualified candidates that could take that job and steady the ship. Former DeMatha guys that would do a really good job there. So hopefully it works out with Mike, and if not, hopefully somebody else from our ranks. Who actually walked those halls and wore that uniform, man, can step up and get us rolling.
Yeah, because I had even asked Bogey, Keith Bogus, like, why don't you put your name in there? Because I know he was coaching at the
Hmm.
time. So yeah, but yeah, that would be awesome to see any of you guys that I know take the helm of that job, man. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. Go ahead, coach. I'm sorry.
The only other question I had, Coach, is growing up in the DC area and being a college coach, I know a big part of the responsibility is recruiting. What is it like going back into the area? I'm assuming that's part of your area would be to come back. That
Mhm,
would make the most sense. But what
mhm.
is it like to come back now after the different colleges and still be able to go into your neighborhood and recruit talent from your area?
Yeah, no, it's a privilege. It's a blessing, honestly, to be able to come home. As you mentioned, I definitely recruit DMV area, but I recruit outside of the area as well, everywhere. It's all about relationships these
Yeah.
days.
Hmm.
When I get off the plane at DCA and I'm driving to Sidwell Friends or I'm driving to DeMatha or wherever to go see a kid, man, I get goosebumps. Just thinking about my time growing up in the area, playing on the playground, playing at DeMatha, uh, you know, just being where those kids are now, being there at one point, and now I'm the guy evaluating them. It definitely, reminds you of God's grace, man, and God's goodness that I'm able to do what I do. I get paid to evaluate basketball players and to coach basketball and to have a living doing this after all of the blood, sweat, and tears that I invested in it at a young age, man, means a lot to me. Something that I definitely don't take for granted. I love being back in the area to recruit in particular because it's a lot of familiar faces. Now, I will say this: I have not had a lot of success though. in the area. I feel like it's like Jesus Christ, man. When in Bethlehem, they didn't call him the Son of Man; they called him the Carpenter Boy. It was like the only place, man, where they would acknowledge his greatness. You know what I mean? And so I've had a lot more success a lot of times in North Carolina and
Mhm.
Georgia and, just random places around the country than I have in my own hometown. I don't know why I can't get more love. I will say this, I don't know why, because the last player that I recruited out of high school, now I have had players out of the portal. It's a lot easier to recruit out of the portal because it's speed dating. You're
Yep.
literally recruiting these kids for 5 or 6 weeks at the most. You know what I mean? And kids generally have a really good feel for what they want to do out of the portal. But it's a lot more of an investment when you're recruiting a kid out of high school to a college, right? And so, but the last kid that I recruited from the area out of high school to Xavier was Najee Marshall. He's a pro.
Yeah,
He's a
he was
pro.
just in town playing at Coolidge.
Yeah, that's my man.
Yeah,
That's my young boy. I love Najee to death. My guy Tori Ferguson. Shout out to Najee and Tori Ferguson, Tori was the head coach of the museum AAU program that was on the Puma circuit this summer. Tori's been a big time grassroots guy for a long time. He was Najee's right hand man, along with his mom. Najee's mom, obviously, they helped keep Najee on track and anytime I turn on the TV and I see Najee in that Dallas Mavericks uniform, man, it touches my heart, man. It makes me feel good knowing that I played a small role, in his process. And so that's pretty good proof that I might know what I'm doing here. So you would think that guys back home would throw a brother a bone, So, but it's tough, because the kids in our area, the area is so oversaturated with coaches coming in and dying to recruit our players.
hmm
And we've had a wealth of talent over the years, and every year there's always good players, but these kids are over recruited in our area. You know what I mean? And a little spoiled. And they've gotten away from who we used to be, which is on the playground, and it's the quality of life, right? Like our people are doing a lot better now than we're doing a lot better now financially, socially than we were back in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? Still a lot of challenges out there, but you just look at the DC public school system, right? DCIAA high school basketball. Like when coaches would come in, yeah, they would go to DeMatha, but they would go across the bridge to Virginia. They going to Dunbar, they going to Anacostia, they going to Ballou. You know what I mean? So we don't live in the city anymore. A lot of us can't afford to. We out in
right,
the counties, and so now that's a reflection on the players too. A lot of these kids coming out of cul-de-sacs. We didn't come out of cul-de-sacs. You know
right,
what I mean? We came out of projects and small 2 bedroom apartments like myself. You know what I mean? So we had a different chip on our shoulder than these kids do. Nonetheless, it's still a lot of talent, right? But the kids are a little different, a little more spoiled, a little more entitled. Uh, not as much grit and toughness as I think we had because you go to your neighborhood playground wherever it was and play, and if you lost, you might not get back on the court. That's what it used to be. It's not that anymore. Now you just go to a gym, air conditioned, and you work out with your trainer. You dribble through cones all day, and you might play some 1-on-1 or 2-on-2. But it don't really mean nothing. It doesn't. It's just different, So I love our area. I still think we got the best talent concentration of basketball talent inside our beltway as anywhere else in the country, and it's great to come home and be able to recruit those kids. But um, it's it's some challenges, some hurdles that I think that these younger kids gonna have to get over if they want to continue to, make sure that our area is one of the best in the country. Got to get a little tougher, a little grittier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just had this more so a two-part question. So you have Butler now. The state of Indiana has always been known to be rich in basketball culture. I actually lived in Indiana back in the day for about 6 years. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. So
Okay.
so I remember how strong the basketball culture was in Indiana because I was there at the time. You had your big dog Glenn Robinson was in high school. You had Sean Kemp
Yeah.
down like I think Elkhart area, whatever the case may be. So how's the recruiting process in the state of Indiana for you, and what challenges does the NIL give you?
Yeah. Well, Indiana, like you said, man, basketball rich. I love the T-shirts that the Pacers had. I forget exactly how it went, but everywhere else is basketball. But in Indiana, it's something different. You know what I mean? It just means more. I'm lucky enough to be here in Hinkle Fieldhouse, where they actually shot the movie Hoosiers. People get off a bus, jump out their cars, and come in here and tour this place. It just means a lot here. So it's great to be at an institution in the state where basketball, is the cowbell. It's what people love the most, the sport they love the most. Um, Recruiting is good. It's a lot of great high school coaches here. A lot of fundamentally sound kids here that know how to play the game, in particular, learn how to play the game without the ball. All right. Really shoot the ball well, can pass it, can cut, understand the importance of cutting and moving without it and setting good screens. So whenever you get a kid from Indiana, more than likely you're going to get a well-coached kid. You know what I mean? A kid that really understands the game from a team aspect and not so much from an individual aspect. Uh, uh, but as far as the NIL, I'll just say this: you can't be a good college program without money. It's not going to happen. Whether it be football, men's basketball, women's basketball, you got no shot. It's just how it's set up, And that was really the case back then. The money was just being passed under the table, you know. Now it's being passed over the table and it's legal. And so Butler has tried to catch up because we weren't prepared for the transition to NIL, but we have a new AD. He's going into his second year now. He's done a phenomenal job of trying to help our alums and our donors and everybody that supports Butler basketball understand the importance of how NIL has impacted college athletics. Now with the revenue sharing going on, I think it'll balance the playing field to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Now you're looking at football programs being, they obviously gonna get the lion's share of the 20.5 million that the athletic department has to give to the kids. Generally cap basketball somewhere between 4 and 5 million, so it gives us a chance, to be competitive in that space. But we've had a lot of success. Everybody's a little unique. We've had a lot of success with transfers, being able to get kids from other programs that want a bigger role, more playing time, more opportunity. Um, we tend to invest more in those guys than we do freshmen because you just don't know what you're going to get out of a freshman. But nonetheless, man, it's a brave new world. You know what I mean? It's a brave new world. It's totally different from what it was when I first got in. And like I said at the top, unless you got a bankroll, unless you got at least minimum 4 to 5 million in your NIL budget, hard time being good. And this year, rev sharing will change things. But I mean, it's teams out here this year in basketball that have budgets of 10 to 15 million, easy. You know what I mean? That's hard to compete against. So, like I said, we've done a better job here at Butler of raising awareness and getting more people to donate and help support us. And I think and pray and hope that'll be reflected on the floor. I like our team this year. I think we got a chance to be pretty good and be pretty competitive in the Big East.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's awesome. We definitely gonna be tuned in, seeing what those Butler boys do this year, man. Definitely cheering for you. And I even remember when you got that interim head coach job at Louisville, man. We were celebrating out here in the DMV because
Yeah.
I was expecting, hey, they'll sign my man or give him 5 years or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So we was definitely
Yeah.
celebrating, man. And man, that was a proud moment, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nah, I appreciate that, Cole. I definitely do, man. Trust me, I felt the weight and the pressure of home and representing, man. And like, my legs was a little wobbly to start out, had to get back used to it and standing up, man. But I wanted to represent, for our hometown for sure, man. And great experience. Hopefully something I'll get a chance to do again at some point in my career.
yeah. That's what's up. So
Yeah.
before we let you get out of here, Mike, we got this thing we call rapid fire. So we
Okay.
ask you some questions. We try to make it as tough as possible, but it ain't as tough as it may seem. And you got to answer them quick on the spot.
Okay.
Uh, so, for example, I might give you two names, and you got to pick one that you think is better or something like
Okay.
that. All
Okay.
right. So,
This
so
will be
coach,
tough.
so, Coach, you want to jump off the rapid fire?
All right, let's do this. All right, we're gonna go start, bench, or cut, and this is strictly high school.
Okay.
The duo of Allen Iverson, Tony Rutland,
Mm,
Stephen Welsh, or Calvin Baker, or
mm.
Anthony Baker and Jordan Butler.
Oh man, I'm not even that familiar with them last four names, to be honest. So I'm a bench
I'm
and
sorry,
cut.
it's Jordan Baker. My bad. I can't even read my own damn handwriting. Do Jordan Baker. But
Okay.
that's all your peninsula boys down there in the 757 area. So
Okay.
which of those? And it's strictly high school now. Strictly high school.
Oh well, that's easy. I'm gonna start AI in Rutland, and,
For
and
sure.
and I'm a bench and cut the other guys because, like I said, I'm not even as familiar with those guys, man. So that's an easy one for me.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then the second part to that is which duo would you want to compete against, and who would you have as your number two to go against them?
Uh, I'm AI and Rutland for sure, and I'm gonna go my duo. This is my era now, me talking. I'm gonna go Kelly Taylor and Tony Parham out of Curl.
Hell of a
Parham.
duo.
Ooh, yeah, Parham was tough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just talking about them guys the other day, man. They used to murder us when I was a junior. They were seniors my junior year. They used to crush old Tim Hill and Terry McGann. That was our backcourt. They were good players, both of them guys, but that was a different level of bump when we went against them.
Yeah. And,
That's
and
dope.
when you said Kelly Taylor name, that's I'm gonna skip around to my questions and give you this one first.
Right?
Uh, who are your five most underrated players out of the DMV?
Mm. Five most underrated players out of the DMV. Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, man. Because I feel like a lot of dudes got their flowers, to be honest. Uh, I'm gonna say in my era, I'm gonna say Dink Peters for sure. I'm gonna throw Dink out there for sure because I think that although Dink was first team All Met and he got a lot of attention, I don't know that people knew how dominant Dink was. Like when Dink
Yeah,
got his big ass up and down the court, he was hard to deal with.
absolutely.
He was tough to guard. Another guy I'm gonna go with. I thought from the early '90s era would be Dickie Simpkins. Now I'm biased because Dink and Dickie are both good friends of mine, but Dickie was a really good player, man. He was a guy that was all met and went on to play at Providence. Really, really good player. Played with those legendary Bulls teams. Although he didn't get a ton of playing time, he was out there with them, and a really good player. Um, underrated. Um, man, Darren Kelly, who I played against at Curl.
Okay.
Darren with Curl, I was at the Mather. He played on my AAU team. Darren was big time, man. I want to say Darren went to Texas, I think,
Okay.
out of high school, and I'm not sure that he finished there. But Darren had bounce. Darren could score the ball. He could shoot it. He was a really good player. Um, Chris Turner was a really, really, really good point guard of mine that I played with in AAU to play that Dunbar that never wound up playing Division I basketball, which was travesty to me. He was an unbelievable player, man. He could handle the ball, had a big crossover, could shoot the three. He could do it all. He wound up finishing up at Dunbar. He was on that Dunbar team. We were supposed to meet Dunbar in the city title in
Mm-hmm.
my junior year, and we lost to McNamara, and Dunbar lost to Cardozo, which was crazy because everybody thought it was a head-on collision. So Chris was on the team with Mike Gill. I think Frank McQueen was on that team. They were loaded. They were loaded. And Chris was a good player. He was a really, really good player. And other than that, man, I'm gonna shout my guy out, Greg Harris. I thought Greg Harris, who graduated with me at the Mather, was a really good player, man. He went to Mount St. Mary's. He was a high major athlete. He was 6'3", big guard. He
Mm-hmm.
could do a lot of things, man. He could score the ball. He could facilitate. Had a rough go at it at the Mather. Didn't really get a chance to play. Really good significant minutes until his senior year of high school, and he had a strong career at Mount St. Mary's. But he was probably really underrated as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got another one, Coach?
So I'm gonna switch to the WNBA. Last year's class, recruiting class of Clark, Brink, Cardoza, Jackson, and of course Reese versus this year's class of Beckers, McCarran, Citron, Iferian, Amore, and Morrow and Rivers. Which group you taking?
I'm definitely taking the Caitlin Clark class. I haven't kept up with the W that much this year, in part because Caitlin has been out so much. And in fact, fun fact, her boyfriend is on our staff here at Butler, Connor
Oh,
McCaffrey.
okay.
So I've had a lot of access with Caitlin than a lot more than most people would. Like, she comes to our games. My son is 5. She loves playing with my son. When she comes through, she'll watch some practices. So I'm a little biased because of that, but I just think that may be the best WNBA class of all time, especially if Caitlin can get healthy and get back to doing what she's capable of. And Angel Reese, who has her struggles finishing, but I think that she's a very, very dynamic player and transcendent with her rebounding and her ability to get double doubles. I love Cardoza. I got a soft spot for the big girl. I love her. I think she's a good player. Hopefully Brink can get healthy. She's really talented as well. But I haven't, Becca's is special. I like her. She's a good player. I think she's going, be at the forefront of that draft class for a long time to come. And I haven't really followed up as much on the other players, but I'm gonna pay closer attention to them as they get closer to the playoffs to see what they're doing. But I think that previous class could be one of the best ever the WNBA has ever produced.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, if you didn't say Caitlin, they would have ran you about Indiana, boy.
Oh, no question. No question. Anybody ever found that out? Shit, my own coworker would have got me, man. Like I said, that's his girl, so I definitely had to go with Caitlin.
Yeah.
Love
All
her.
right, I got another one for you. Start, bench, or cut.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe, Jordan, LeBron.
Ooh. All right, I'm gonna work from the way back. I'm cutting LeBron.
God,
Bob, he gonna cut you off. He
oh
gone.
man,
He gone.
hold up, man. Just gotta remove
He did, hey,
man.
Hey,
Man, we can't
hey,
accept that,
hey,
man.
Mike, he ain't gonna. Hey, the interview is over. He ain't
it's
gonna let you
over.
talk no more.
Kobe and LeBron got no
Hey,
way.
bro.
Yo, hey, listen, you talking to a guy who must have watched Come Fly With Me a million times. So
Me
you know who
too.
I'm starting. You know who I'm starting. I'm starting Black Jesus. I'm starting Black Mike. I'm a bench Kobe because he got everything from Mike. And I'm cutting Bron, man. I'm done. I'm done.
Hey, he
Damn,
through. He
man.
through. Hey, he ain't gonna want to talk to you no more. Interview is
Uh,
over with, man. Look at him. He through. He done. If you want the gas, you see how quick he hit that button, right?
I
We
see. I
would have
see.
ended the show.
Hey, Coach, say it ain't so, man. You a Bronny? You a
Hey,
Bronny? Oh,
hey, Mike, come on, man. You
oh,
caught in the Matrix too, man. You took the blue pill, man.
oh, man.
Come on.
I'm a diehard Jordan guy, man.
So look, but I will say this. I was a diehard Jordan fan all the way up until probably late 90s, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
Remember when I was young, I was in Gary, Indiana, right outside Chicago. So that's
Okay.
all I saw was Jordan, the
Right.
Bulls, everything.
Right.
Actually, the first basketball game I ever went to was a Bulls game, and it was a rookie Michael Jordan
Uh-huh.
against an older Dr. J. That's my first experience of seeing basketball. Was that game? So I
Wow.
was Bulls, Jordan, everything. On one side of my room, it was Jordan posters. On the other side, it was Michael Jackson. So
Okay.
that's how it was. But as I
Well,
grew up and started learning the game and playing the game and everything, and I just started making my own decisions. And when I saw LeBron, I said, man, I ain't never seen nothing like it.
yeah. I get it. I get it. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a LeBron hater. I'm not a hater. I'm not one of
But
them.
that's good. That's good.
I'm definitely not one of them guys that's just going to dismiss his greatness because, like you know, you can't not acknowledge the fact that this man is 6'9", 250, 60 pounds, whatever he is, flying up and down the court for most of his career, jumping out the gym, passing the ball, and facilitating the way that he can, and as well as having the ability to score the ball and get to the rim. And when he's making jump shots, he's really good. The
Hey,
thing
Mike.
for
Hey,
me,
coach.
yeah.
Hey, man, you don't have to justify to this dude why you. Hey,
No,
listen, man. Hey,
I'm,
listen.
I'm
Hey,
trying to
listen.
talk some sense into him, Coach. I'm
Jordan is
trying to
the
soften
guy.
him up, Coach. I'm trying to
Hey,
soften him
Jordan
up.
is the GOAT.
The
LeBron is a GOAT. It
the-
ain't no it ain't even a conversation.
I
Hey,
like that.
how
I like that.
you and he gonna cut me off here in a second, but that's okay. But look,
I ain't gonna cut you off. Let's just talk about it.
how you
I'm
gonna
gonna edit
claim your
this shit
greatness
out.
after you score the most points and the
Yeah.
guy who held all the most points wasn't even considered the greatest? Knock it off, man. Get it. Now,
Yeah.
now I'm not a LeBron hater either. I'm not a LeBron hater either, but the thing that puts LeBron below Kobe and Mike for me, just for me, is
Mm.
the fact that all those attributes that he has, the dude could just simply go and dominate a game by getting in a low post, but he prefers to go out and try to make everyone better. So I'm not gonna knock him for that.
Facts,
But
man.
if
All
you
right,
just go,
we heard enough, Coach Milk, man. That's enough, man.
Ah,
That's enough, man.
hey,
I
he
don't
said
worry.
you was gonna cut him off. You couldn't
Man,
take it.
that's enough, man.
Hey,
Take time out, Mike.
it was coming. But nah, look, my only thing, Coach, with LeBron, I think he's great. He's a Hall of Famer. Coach, good to see you back, Coach. Good to have you.
hey, I'm surprised he let me back in, man.
Hey, but listen, man, my thing, Kobe, is like, for us, game point is everything, right?
Okay.
Being able to like be incredibly clutch when it matters the most and like wanting that moment. Everybody know you getting it. And I know the numbers would say that LeBron has more game winners. That's what the numbers say. But
Numbers don't lie, right?
but when I watched Mike and then when I watched LeBron and I watched in particular in the games, I just feel like, man, that's the guy I'm gonna get a ball to more than before I would give LeBron. That's one of the biggest. Not to mention the 6-0 championships, and I know we can. This could be another 2 hour debate, but so it's that part. It's record in the finals. But I think about my goal is, man, who am I giving that thing to, and I can just go, move out the way, and I feel like we in good shape. I just feel like if you cut LeBron off and you don't let him bully you to the rim, I'm not as worried about him making a jump
Ain't
shot
concerned about him
much
too
as Mike
much.
is.
Exactly.
And I know LeBron is a better 3-point shooter statistically, but we all know that the 3-point shot wasn't as in vogue
He's
then.
been playing for 80 years. He
Right,
should be the best of everything.
right. But I just, man, who am I giving that rock to? And I don't have one reservation in my mind about him making the right play and him scoring that ball. For me, that's always gonna be Mike. So that's where I ended right there, man. But all the great players, all the Hall of Famers, all the transcendent. I give LeBron his flowers on and off the court. He's done a lot. He's represented himself extremely well, the same way that Mike did. Throughout his career, I know Mike had the little gambling thing, but shit, everybody like to have fun. But both guys were stand-up guys, and that's tough. And Kobe, God rest his soul, man. Like, another just a dog. Absolute dog, man. Guy that just worked his ass off. You know what I mean? Was a killer. I had the pleasure. How about this, Kobe? We played against Kobe. I'll tell you a quick story up at the Delaware Shootout. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember that event. I was with DC Assault. And when I tell you we beat the brakes off of them, we beat them
Hmm.
like 30. because Kobe was out there playing with a PA team, but he was the tallest dude, and everybody else on his team was like 6'2" white boys.
Yep.
So all we had to do was basically double or triple team him. Now, if they had 45, he had 40,
Yeah.
right? So he got his, but we beat the brakes off of them. I'll never forget, I stole it from one of them other little white guys on the team, and I went down and thought I had a layup, and Kobe introduced me to the chase down block. Remember, they had like 4 courts in the Delaware Fieldhouse. We was on court 1. Kobe came down to block my shot. The referee had to run all the way down to court 4, man, to go get my ball, man.
God.
You know, but nah, that was great, man. I actually can say I played against Kobe. Tim Thomas was in that event. The great Tim Thomas claimed out my year. Hell of an event, man. But yeah, man, 3 great players. Mike gonna be my GOAT, man. Ain't nobody gonna change my mind, man. That's why.
Hey, look, I respect it. I respect it, but I'm just letting you two brothers know you're on the wrong side of history.
All right, all right. Hey, look,
And we
I'm
respect
pouring
that.
up with
We
the
respect
kids
that.
every day about that, you know, because all the kids in the locker room, all LeBron, they ain't seen enough. Actually, a couple of them with me, but that's rare, man. Most of these kids LeBron guys, so I get it every day.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I don't get heartburn when somebody say Jordan is a GOAT. I don't get heartburn when people say that because he might be, he could be. It's subjective, you know what I'm saying? But when you put Kobe over LeBron, that's when I'm like, we saw them. They played during the same time. We saw them play against each other. We saw Kobe. We saw LeBron dominate Kobe in the 22 games they played. He dominated them in wins and losses and statistically.
Okay.
So I'm like, so I can't, I get it. He's baby Jordan and he was the carbon copy of Jordan, and you love Jordan, so you gotta love Kobe. But come on, man.
Right.
Let's be honest here.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right, switch the speed. I got another one for you. Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson.
Woo! Damn. That's tough. Because really Lamar without Mike Vick, you know. I'm gonna go Mike Vick.
Boy, that was another one, man. I could have hit the button on that. I'm Baltimore. I'm a Lamar guy, so
Okay. I ain't mad at you. Hey, look, I was
no. Mike Vick, he was the standard though.
He was. And then you gotta if I wouldn't have been mad had you thrown Randall Cunningham in there. Because
Randall, yeah.
I would give both of them the nod over Randall, but without Randall, them two guys ain't who they are, man. Randall started that. He started that. So
Fact.
yeah.
Cam Newton or Josh Allen?
Cam Newton or Josh Allen? I'm gonna go Josh Allen. I'm gonna go Josh Allen. I think Josh, he's proven to this point, his career's still going, that he can not only run by you and run over you, but he can spin that thing, and he's the only one who's beaten Mahomes, and Mahomes, everybody talk about Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now you just gotta be able to do it in the playoffs. But in the regular season, he been doing his thing against one of the best teams of our current day. So yeah, I'm gonna go Josh Allen on that one.
Yeah. You got another one, Coach?
I got a couple, man. We're gonna stay on. Let's stay on. We're gonna stay in the DMV area, and we're gonna go best high school football player from the state of Virginia. And I'm gonna throw some names out for you.
Okay.
Percy Harvin, Terry Kirby, Mike Vick, Allen Iverson, and somebody who I think don't get a lot of mention is Ronald Curry.
Tough. North Carolina, played basketball and football. Yeah, I remember Ronald Curry. I mean,
people don't remember Ronald Curry was National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So was AI.
So was AI. Yeah. Hard to knock either one of them. I know Percy Harvin was a standout receiver. I'm gonna go Vic though, man. For me, Mike Vick was he revolutionized that position for me, man. Like I said, Randall Cunningham was unreal, but when Mike Vick came along, it was like 2.0. Lefty, the way he threw that thing. I mean, he was such a precision passer too, man. Like a lot of people talk about the speed of him running past you, but when he was in that pocket, man, he would drop it right in there. I mean, he would drop it right in the basket. And then
I remember there was a commercial out and people thought it was AI, before AI, but them throws that he was making was real. Of course they superimposed the last one where he knocked the dude out of the stadium, but that was an actual throw that he threw. He
Yeah,
threw
yeah.
that distance.
He was,
Wow.
man. He had the tightest spiral, man, and that ball was on you. Like right as soon as you came out of your break, he put it right on you, man. So I got to go Mike Vick for that one.
Mhm.
Good
Yeah,
to see him
he was
back
a
in
super
action too,
hero.
man. Back in his hometown too. That's big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, coach. Shoot no.
I'm gonna switch again back to WNBA. Uh, start, bench, or cut. Cheryl Miller, Diana Taurasi, or Candace Parker. Even though Cheryl Miller didn't play, I got to give her flowers. I'm not gonna dis. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Start bench and cut. She said Cheryl Miller, Diana Taurasi, and
Candace Parker.
Candace Parker. Man, that's tough. Diana Taurasi is like that. I want to see her new documentary to get a better perspective on her. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm gonna have to cut her. I'm probably going to bench Candace Parker, who I loved, who's probably top 2 or 3 best women basketball players that I've ever seen. But
Mm-hmm.
just based on the footage that I saw of, I'm gonna pay homage to the goat. I'm gonna start Cheryl Miller, man. Like 100 points in high school. You know everything that she did at USC. I can't imagine what she would have done if the WNBA had been in place when she was in her prime. I'm gonna give her flowers and star her, man. But having in terms of who I saw, Candace Parker for sure was definitely one of the best 3 women's
Is she
basketball
for
players.
real? Yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah. Let me see what I got. Private school, public school.
Man, I'm going private school. You already know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to. I got to. My people's paid that bill, so I gotta respect that.
Facts.
I
Facts.
got I got one last one for you, and it's completely unsports related. Your top 5 black movies of all time.
Ooh, good one.
Wow. Okay. Well, we were sitting. I was supposed to do this interview from my house, and I would have probably been at my dining room table, and it would have been a poster behind me. Would have been a poster behind me of Harlem Nights.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm going Harlem Nights. I'm not just gonna go funny. I'm gonna go all genres. I'm gonna go Glory. I'm gonna go
Okay.
Glory with Denzel in there. I'm gonna go back New School, and I'm gonna go Black Panther.
Okay.
Chadwick Boseman, unbelievable movie. Boys in the Hood, classic, gotta have it. That's 4. I could go a lot of different ways with this 5th one. Um, it had a big effect on me, so I'm gonna just say Menace to Society.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yo, you know what's surprising is you didn't say
I
he
left
got
out
game.
Friday. I left out
And
Friday. I
Friday.
left out
Yeah.
Friday.
It's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. You ain't
Yeah.
go
There's
wrong.
one that
You keeping your card on all of them.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then there's one that most people always put in their top 5 that you just say Scarface.
But black movie, he said though,
Oh,
right?
that's not a black movie, my bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now if you said gangster movie, Scarface definitely in there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my bad.
Friday, I feel a little. I probably would go Friday over Menace, to be honest. I
Yeah.
probably go Friday over Menace. Yeah.
Here's one that a lot of people don't give credit for being a black movie. White Chicks.
Oh, hell no.
Hey,
Coach,
I can't do
Think about the
that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Coach, man, hold up, man. Hold on. Where's the button, man? Hit that button right on that one. Go hit the button. Wait, chick. What?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Man,
why you cut me off, man? Think about the cast.
Man, Cat Williams is rolling around in his grave right now.
But you got to think about. Look at Damon Wayans, the Wayans brothers, and then oh boy, and it's probably one of the biggest
So
satires
white
out.
chick was who? Marlon and Sean?
Marlon and Sean, and then your boy, the big dude from
Terry
from
Crews.
Training Day, Terry Crews.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were the major role players in that whole movie.
Man, that's like saying a lot of people say Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's like saying Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's controversial there, Coach. At best, that's controversial at the least.
Oh man. God damn. All right. I respect it though, Coach. All right, Mike. Describe these people with using one word. Thad Matta,
Oh man, gracious,
Mike Bray,
uh, leader,
Morgan Wooten.
the goat.
Ah, awesome. Awesome. And then this is the last question I have for you. And we asked this of all of our DMV legends that's been on this show. 11 ball players, including you. So you got to pick 10 others from the DMV to go with you anywhere around the country. I don't care if it's New York, LA, Chicago, wherever.
Yeah.
To take your mob and go bump against the best in the country. Who are the 10 ball players from the DMV you taking with you?
Any era.
Any era. It could be high school dudes you hoop with, college dudes, even pro dudes. Who you taking with you? Your 10.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to go.
Well, I'm gonna go Steve Francis.
Okay. That's one.
I'm gonna go Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Kevin Durant. Uh, I'm gonna take Kurt Bone, man, because if we going to Chicago and New York, we're gonna need that. We're gonna need that thoroughness. We're gonna need some toughness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go Bone Smith. Um, I need some shooting, so I'm gonna go Keith Veeney.
Keith. Never saw a shot he didn't like.
Never saw one he didn't like. Never. I'm gonna go Keith Veeney. I'm gonna pay homage to the dude who I was chasing back in the day, man, because Morgan would always say I reminded him of we were similar, Adrian Dantley.
I knew you was gonna say that. I see that too.
Yeah, I gotta go AD, so that's 6. Man, for me growing up, man, one of the dudes that I thought revolutionized the position was Walt Williams.
Hell yeah.
God damn. I mean, Walt at 6'9", playing the point and playing every position was unreal to watch. And I never forget, Cole, watching them Duke games on Masson, or it was like Channel 2 on cable, whatever. They would lose every time, but he would keep them in the game, and the crazies would be like, "Hey, Walt, nice socks. Hey,
Yeah.
Walt, nice socks." He had the knee-high jumps like we used to wear 'em.
Yes, sir.
And he was out there frying them people. They couldn't do nothing with him. He was getting 35. So I love Walt. That's 6. Sheesh. So many different players, so many different eras, man. Who was a good player? 90. You know, I'm gonna give my young boy Keith Bogan his credit, man.
Bogey.
I gotta give Bogey his credit because not only was Bogey, he was like our little version of a LeBron type, right? Like Bogey was really good at a young age. A lot of people knew it. A lot of people had big expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And came to DeMatha, and he was a freshman on varsity. Another one of them guys who I said, if you're a freshman, you know what I mean. You play in the league. He did that. He went to Kentucky. Had a solid college career. Actually went to school for all 4 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it was a long time NBA player. Like I want to say Keith got 12, 13 years, maybe
13.
more, 13 out of it. And not a lot of guys can say that they've done that, man. They've had that long a run in the NBA. So I
Mm-hmm.
think you gotta give Keith Bogans his credit, man.
Yep.
Sure. Uh,
3 more.
3 more. Shit, that's tough. Um, I feel like I need a center, man. I'm gonna go. The dude was a dog to me, man. Mike Smith from Dunbar.
Oh yeah.
I
Nasty.
just I just thought Mike was an animal, man. He only about 6'8", but he was a dog, man. He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
went to Providence, was up there with Dickie Simpkins, who I mentioned earlier. Just played hard, was tough as nails. Um, I'm gonna take my guy, man. I'm gonna take my guy, Big Dink Peters. He gonna play some backup five to Mike Smith.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my man, Big Dink, man, for sure. Cause
One more.
I know we can throw it in the post to him and he's gonna get it done. Uh,
Absolutely.
and then can't say no current high school players because that might be a violation. So I can't say that. I'm gonna go ahead and take Quinn Cook.
Okay.
I'm gonna take young Quinn. I coach Quinn, good player, you know, dynamic. Never another kid, never short shot. He didn't like play hard. Was very, very confident in his ability. I'll always like that about Quinn. So I think that's a good 10 to take around the country for sure.
Nice, nice. That's a solid 10 right there.
Yeah.
I got my money on y'all.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how
Yeah,
we get out of town, we show up.
yeah, straight up.
Show out. Yeah, man. But I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Oh, before I let you go, I want you to tell me the backstory or something because I almost forgot to ask you this.
Okay.
My memory is usually good, but it's kind of hazy. But I remember you. So it was back. I would say late '90s. I'm gonna say, me and some of my good men, we leaving out the club. We coming out the Ritz or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then come down the street is a school bus. Somebody blowing the horn, and it was you driving the school bus. It's a DC school bus, I believe. Either you was driving or you was on the bus. One of the two. But I was like, these fools done stole a bus. so I'm like, and you driving through with a club at. Do you remember this?
Man, I don't remember that code, but it don't sound like it sounds like something I could have been a part of. Not the stealing part, not the stealing part. Definitely no grand larceny involved. But my mother worked in rec, you know what I mean, and so I was on a lot of those buses, man. I was
That's probably what it
hopefully it
was.
wasn't a short bus. Now, hopefully it was the long bus.
Nah,
But
it
Hey,
was
hey, Cole,
short
that's one of them stories. That's one of them stories he can't quite recall.
yeah, I can't quite remember what led up to it while we was on there, especially late at night out the club. That's the why I should have been in the Ritz is where I should have been. I know you probably went to go see RE in the Ritz.
yeah.
Yeah, but nah, man, we had a lot of access to a lot of different things at the wreck, man. So I'm probably riding with somebody,
I
probably
want to
just got
say
back.
Daryl was with you. I want to say Daryl was on the bus. And there was some other people. It was all hoopers. I remember that. It was all hoopers.
Okay.
But I remember you vividly.
Yeah.
And I think you was driving the bus.
Nah, could have been me.
Hey, look. To all the Butler hoopers out there, it wasn't Mike. It was somebody else.
Definitely wasn't me.
Your coach would never.
Never. Not at all.
All right, Mike, do you want to leave the viewers and listeners, and especially our young viewers and listeners, any parting words, any words of encouragement or motivation?
Yeah, man. First of all, like I said, man, thanks for having me on. First time I actually ever did a podcast, man. So I had a lot of fun with you guys, man. Appreciate you thinking of me when it comes to standout players from the DMV. I definitely prided myself on putting the work in, man, and molding myself into one of the better players, at least in my era. And just for the young listeners, man, just if basketball or football or whatever your passion may be, it could be the piano, it could be whatever you choose, whatever your walk of life is, man, just be incredibly passionate about it. Dive into it, eat it, live it, breathe it every day. You'll get the return on it. Predicated on the amount of work that you put in. And as we talked about earlier, man, just the importance of being a good person. In your daily life and your daily walk. Be a good person, man. Love on people, lead with love, give God the glory, and good things will happen for you. So nothing groundbreaking, man, but just some basic principles to live by that I think will serve everybody well.
Awesome. And I want to thank you on behalf of the No Cap Sports Show podcast for coming on here, gracing the show. dropping some wisdom, dropping some nuggets, and talking about your journey, because it was definitely a special journey. So look, you family, anytime you want to jump on, even if it's just to talk some shit, hey, you always welcome. You know what I mean? No is or nothing, man. You always welcome here, man, and we appreciate you.
Absolutely, bro. Appreciate you, Coach. Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for having me on, man. Y'all have a blessing.
Hey, salute. It's a pleasure meeting you, man, and good luck this season.
All right, I appreciate that. Yes, sir. Go Dogs.
Yes, sir. Salute.
Yes, sir.
Salute.